Chapter 202. A strong smell of blood wafted into the hall, as if there were swords of death stained with blood pressed against their throats. Those sharp swords were filled with a thirst for blood, and they could not wait to tear open their skin and blood vessels and drink to their heart's content. Such a strong pressure. In terms of aura, it was not inferior to Chen Bingyu's. The originally lively scene instantly became silent and many people found it hard to breathe. When did Central State City have such an expert? Chu Tian, you really are bold. A loud and deep voice suddenly sounded in the hall, and even the glass on the four sides shattered. You betrayed the Chu clan, opened a chamber of commerce, and even went against the clan. You have no morals, and are despicable to the extreme. Each word was like a sword that shot into the hall, filled with an incomparably sharp edge. Central State only had a few true soul realm experts. It was impossible for one to appear out of nowhere. Could the Shangguan family have sent people to take revenge? The Shangguan family would not give Shen Fengho face, and even if they sent people to take revenge, it would not be this fast. Shangguan Ming had just been sent out of Central State. Chu Tian sat in his seat, not moving at all. This was a dark red figure that appeared in the center of the hall. It was a spirited old man with white hair and a thin body. He wore a dark red swordsman's robe and had a black jade crown on his head. His eyes were like swords and his aura was sharp, just like a blood-stained sword. Everyone shuddered. If this person was enraged, the entire crowd would be cut down by his sword. Blood-drinking sword Chu Shi. Ah, why is it him? Didn't the Chu family's remote great elder leave Central State 4 years ago? Everyone revealed looks of fear. This person was not anyone else, but rather the previous head of the Chu family, the current remote great elder Chu Shi. People called him the blood-drinking sword. 40 years ago, the name of the blood-drinking sword had shaken Central State. Although this remote great elder did not have any power, his influence was even higher than the current head of the family. Chu Shi had been in Yunyao City for 4 years. On one hand, it was to find opportunities for himself, and on the other hand, it was to expand the Chu family's influence. Who would have thought that he would return to Central State City at this time? It would definitely be a great boost to the Chu family's morale. This meant that the Chu family also had a true soul realm expert. Chu Shi directly walked towards the main platform. Every step he took seemed to cause blood to flow out of his face, causing the people in front of him to involuntarily retreat. The blood drinker sword was bloodthirsty and numb to killing. Who dared to stand in his way? That was courting death. At this time, the temperature in the hall suddenly dropped. A silent black-clothed girl suddenly appeared in front of Chu Shi, instantly blocking the tip of the blood drinker sword. Everyone felt their bodies relax. Chen Bingyu's eyes were filled with killing intent, coldly staring at the blood drinker sword that had been famous in Zhongzhou for decades, and said in a cold voice, "One more step and I'll kill you." How arrogant! Chu Shi had never seen Chen Bingyu before, but he had heard of her name. This girl was not that old, but her cultivation base was very terrifying. Chu Shi did not have a high chance of winning against her. You must be Chen Bingyu. I advise you not to meddle in matters that you shouldn't meddle in. Otherwise, once you fall into a quagmire, it won't be easy for you to leave. Chen Bingyu did not say anything. A sparkling snowflake appeared in her palm. A bone-chilling killing intent surrounded Chu Shi. Chen Bingyu was called the Ice Queen and had a cold and overbearing personality. She was also a ruthless person, so if Chu Shi dared to make a move, she would not show mercy. Meng Qingguo and Yunyao tightly knit their brows. This person did not have good intentions. Although Chen Bingyu was blocking him, once the two true soul realm experts fought, the hotel that Miracle Commerce had prepared for so many days would be destroyed and the carefully prepared press conference would be ruined. This would be a large blow to Miracle Commerce's morale. Meng Qingguo was most worried that with the appearance of the blood-drinking sword Chu Shi, there would be a portion of the powers that were prepared to join Miracle Commerce that would waver. Among the powers that were working with Miracle Commerce, there were quite a few that were on the fence. Meng Qingguo did not care at first because as long as she deepened her cooperation with Miracle Commerce, she would be able to use benefits to bind them. Who would have thought that the blood-drinking sword would appear? Man proposes, but the heavens disposes. Chu Shi stared at Chen Bingyu. He could feel how strong Chen Bingyu was, and even Chu Shi did not have confidence in winning against her. With this kind of expert protecting him, it was no wonder the Chu family could not do anything to this evil disciple. Chu Tian, don't make the same mistake again. Chu Shi ignored Chen Bingyu and stared at Chu Tian. It's not too late to mend your ways and return to the Chu family. Although you have made a series of mistakes, this old man can guarantee that everything will be written off. The Chu family will treat you with the same importance as Chu Xinghe. Everyone revealed a shocked expression. Was the Chu family going to take back this abandoned child? In truth, it should have been like this long ago. If Chu Tian returned to the Chu family, he would have Chu Tian in literature and Chu Xinghe in martial arts. Both of them had the ability to split the land and become a marquis. The influence of the Chu family would be unstoppable. If I bring the Chu family into action, Miracle Commerce will find it hard to take a single step and you will not have a place to stand. Chu Shi's eyes flashed with a bloody glow as a faintly discernible energy circulated around his body. The only way to protect yourself is to immediately hand over Miracle Commerce and return to the Chu family, otherwise, he promised to focus on training. He directly threatened them. This was truly using both carrot and stick at the same time. Great Elder really knows how to conduct himself. Chu Tian had a trace of irritation in the depths of his heart. That was a trace of remnant thoughts left behind by the original owner, a deep loathing and hatred. When I was useless, the Chu family abandoned me and killed my parents. Now that I have a bit of value, I will return to be your dog. Who do you think I am? Scram! Scram! His words shocked everyone present. Chu Tian was not a normal kind of valiant. It was understandable if he was arrogant towards Shangguan Ming. After all, the central state was not the territory of the Shangguan family, and Chu Tian was confident of his victory at that time. Now even the famous blood drinker sword Chu Shi dared to have such an attitude. Old man. You've got some balls, huh? To actually dare threaten me. Then let's try it. Chu Tian stood up with a domineering appearance. I will say this today, if the Chu family dares to touch a single hair on Miracle Commerce, I will directly kill my way into the Chu family. Even if I have to destroy both sides, I will not let your Chu family have peace. A barefooted person is not afraid of wearing shoes. Your Chu family has tens of thousands of people and I am alone. Do you think I will be afraid of you? Chu Tian was enraged. Although his strength was not as great, his aura instantly suppressed Chu Shi. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Valiant. Crazy. This Chu Shi's attitude was already strong enough, but who would have thought that Chu Tian would not give him any face and would instead be even stronger? The soft fear the hard fear the unreasonable, and the unreasonable fear the stupid. Chu Shi's arrogance in front of this stupid Chu Tian really had no way. This old man didn't even bother asking around. Before Chu Tian had any power, he dared to hold Prince Tianlang hostage and pour his urine on him. He did not even bat an eyelid in front of the tens of thousands of Ye family mercenaries. This person was well known for not being afraid of death. From everyone's understanding of Chu Tian, since he dared to say this, perhaps he would really do it. If the Chu family dared to touch Miracle Commerce, it would mean that a battle would erupt. Chu Tian had the 18 Yin corpses as guards, Chen Bingyu's help, Yun Tianhe's help, and Xin Fenghe's backing. Adding in the Yun family's influence, as well as the low-level families that Chu Tian had roped in. Once this conflict erupted, it would be a reign of terror for Central State City. With the deep background of the Chu family, would they be able to block this wave? Perhaps they would be heavily injured and lose more than half of their elites. They might even become a second-rate family. Chu Tian dared to go all out. Would your Chu family dare? They didn't even have the resolve to die together, yet they dared to act arrogantly in front of Chu Tian. Everyone's hearts calmed down at the same time. As long as Chu Shi's brain wasn't damaged, he would not risk his entire family to fight to the death with miracle commerce. This instantly solidified everyone's determination to cooperate with miracle commerce. Chu Shi himself was stunned. Because he had just returned to Central State City, he only knew what had happened recently. He did not understand Chu Tian's personality, so he directly came to cause trouble for Chu Tian. He wanted to use his strength and prestige to force Chu Tian to submit. It would be best if he could bring Chu Tian back to the Chu family. Even if he couldn't bring him back to bid, he could at least make him spit out miracle commerce. Who would have thought that he would kick an iron plate? Chu Shi's face turned livid. He was a famous character from 40 years ago, how could he allow a younger generation to ride over him? You. This is Miracle Commerce's press conference, we don't have an old fool like you on our invitation list. Chu Tian did not place a true soul expert in his eyes at all. Chen Bingyu, send this old man out. Don't delay the press conference. Chen Bingyu took a step forward, please leave. Chen Bingyu was an unyielding person. Chu Shi's face turned livid. He had come to show off his strength and at the very least he could scare off the Miracle Commerce collaborators, but he was defeated by the other side. He could only brace himself and say, you giving up on returning to the Chu family is a stupid decision. All the Central State families and companies listen to me. You will pay a heavy price for standing on the wrong side. With respect and love, wait for the Chu family's revenge. So. A piece of paper flew over. It was like a sharp dart flying at Chu Tian. Even if it was a normal piece of paper, it could cut through metal in the hands of an expert like Chu Shi. Chen Bingyu blocked it and easily caught it. There were several large words written on the paper, challenge letter. Chu Tian, if you're really that confident. Chu Shi turned to leave while coldly saying, then accept the Chu family's third generation's most outstanding genius, Chu Xinghe's challenge. A fair and square challenge. Chu Xinghe's challenge. Everyone was shocked. Chen Bingyu placed the challenge letter in front of Chu Tian, but there was no time or place written on it. Yun Yao, Nangong Yun, and the others all tightly knit their brows. There was no need to doubt Chu Tian's strength. But wasn't it a bit too early to fight with Chu Xinghe? Chu Xinghe was a true genius, he could easily jump levels to fight. Although Chu Tian had won in the trial space, he had already experienced the might of his sword art. Fighting with him now was too early. Once he accepted, it meant a large risk. But if he didn't accept, it meant that Chu Tian was afraid. Then the momentum that Chu Tian had accumulated would disappear. Alright. Chu Tian didn't even look at it as he tore open the challenge letter in front of everyone, I'll wait for him to recover and fight with me. Chu Tian agreed. This meant that the two most dazzling young geniuses of Central State were destined to have a battle that everyone would pay attention to. Everyone couldn't help revealing looks of admiration. What was a true genius? What was true courage? Not fearing challenges, not fearing enemies, not fearing death. This kind of courage was not something a normal person could have. Chu Shi had already left. Alright, the old bastard causing trouble has left. Chu Tian sat down in his seat, everyone, let's continue. The signing ceremony continued as normal. Even if Chu Shi came to the conference, he still wasn't able to scare away Miracle Commerce's collaborators. Instead, it allowed Chu Tian's domineering side to appear in everyone's eyes, causing Chu Shi to suffer a large loss. Those collaborators were even more determined to cooperate with Miracle Commerce. Although the conference was not affected by the disturbance, it left a great suspense in Central State City. Chu Tian and Chu Xinghe, these two old enemies, were destined to have a decisive battle. Chapter 203. In the Chu family's headquarters, several hundred elite Chu family swordsmen were respectfully standing in 2 rows. The family head Chu Shanhe had personally come out to welcome them. The family had fallen into a critical moment and the remote Great Elder had just returned. This was undoubtedly a cardiac stimulant for the Chu family. The remote great elder Chu Shi was in the true soul realm and was not weaker than the Yun family's old undying Yun Tianhe. In terms of battle strength, he was much stronger than Yun Tianhe. The three great families had always suffered losses because they did not have a true soul realm expert, so they had to be careful. This allowed Chu Tian to rise step by step until he reached a point where it was hard to deal with. Chu Shanhe cupped his hands to Chu Shi, remote great elder. Don't say it, I understand. Chu Shi's sharp eyes swept over everyone. How is Xinghe's situation? Bring me to see him. Chu Xinghe gradually stabilized, but he was not out of danger yet. The netherworld ghost flame was too sinister. It did not have any heat and could not burn anything, but it could damage one's cultivation base by igniting one's spirit energy. Chu Tian's netherworld ghost flame was different from normal netherworld flames. This flame had been nurtured by the Spirit King for over 10,000 years and it had a strong corrosive nature that could corrode one's meridians, causing permanent damage. When Chu Xinghe was hit by the raging flame slash, an incomparably large netherworld ghost flame instantly covered his meridians. This kind of injury was very serious and even with Chu Xinghe's cultivation, it would be hard for him to recover in a short period of time. The sword that Chu Xinghe gave to Chu Tian had almost crippled Chu Tian. Chu Tian had also given Chu Xinghe a slash, which had almost crippled him. Speaking of this, he would have to pay back sooner or later. Chu Shanhe was filled with hatred. That brat Chu Tian is too hateful. Xinghe has suffered such a heavy injury, he won't be able to recover in a short period of time. Physical injuries are easy to heal, but heart injuries are hard to heal. Chu Shi saw Chu Xinghe lying on a jade bed. His hair was completely disheveled and his face was as pale as paper. Xinghe's talent has been outstanding since he was young. Since he was young, no one has been able to compete with him. Unless he fights with the top experts of the older generation, he has never been defeated. Now that he's been defeated by a nameless person who's younger and has a lower cultivation, he's bound to have a heart demon planted in him. Chu Shanhe frowned. Chu Xinghe was the future of the Chu family. The family was counting on him to lead the family to a new peak. How could he be depressed? This knot in my heart lies with Chu Tian. I will immediately gather the strength of the clan and kill him at all costs. No. Chu Shi stopped Chu Shanhe. With Chen Bingyu by his side, it would be hard for the Chu family to succeed. If they completely angered that madman, it would not be good for the Chu family. In the future, Xing He will meet many geniuses. We can't let the family solve every obstacle, right? He must overcome his inner demons by himself. Chu Shi directly walked into the room. Chu Xinghe slowly opened his eyes. Respected elder. Chu Shi sternly said, Xinghe, are you willing to fail? A trace of deep hatred and resentment flashed in Chu Xinghe's eyes, but this failure was a great blow to him. Very good, I'm very satisfied with your eyes. Remember, no matter how strong a person is, they can't always win. Chu Shi could see a strong hatred in Chu Xinghe's eyes. Since there was hatred, he wouldn't be depressed. If I can't even take a single blow, how can I take on the responsibility of reviving the Chu family? Get up. Tell me. Do you think you're weaker than Chu Tian? No. Chu Xinghe clenched his fists. That's impossible. He's just using tricks. If we fought head-on, I could kill him with a single slash. There was no doubt about this. From the previous battles, it was hard for him to fight against Luo Xianglong and Yi Tianlang. Although Chu Tian's battle strength was not bad, it was impossible for him to defeat Chu Xinghe. Then don't waste your time here. Chu Shi sternly said, take back the dignity you've lost. I've already sent a challenge to Chu Tian for you. Once you've recovered from your injuries, you'll have a fair and square fight with him. Chu Shanhe was shocked. Respected elder, I'm afraid this isn't appropriate. Xinghe's injuries will probably. Why do you think I suddenly came back? Chu Shi took out a jade box from his chest. Take a look. Chu Shanhe opened the jade box a crack. Suddenly, a shocking spiritual energy wildly surged out like a whirlwind in the room. There were even many illusions that appeared, making everyone dumbstruck. Chu Shi replied, "This is a 7-song spirit ginseng that I obtained by chance. The 7-song spirit ginseng is a natural spirit medicine, and this one is 30 to 40,000 years old. It has already evolved into a holy medicine and even has a trace of an immortal medicine. Could it be a half-immortal grade spirit medicine? That's not it. Immortal grade spirit medicines are very precious, and Southern Sia's spirit earth is very thin, making it almost impossible for it to grow. Although it isn't a half-immortal grade spirit medicine, it is still a top-grade holy medicine that is worth 1 billion gold coins. Not only can this medicine heal all injuries, it can also increase one's cultivation in a short period of time, allowing Xinghe to break through his current cultivation. Top-grade holy medicine. Materials were divided into normal grade, spirit grade, holy grade, immortal grade, and divine grade. Materials of the same quality were also divided into low, middle, high, and top grade. Chu Tian had spent a high price to exchange for the earth treasury fruit, but it was only a middle-grade holy medicine. The value of this 7-song spirit ginseng could be imagined. There weren't many of them in all of Southern Xia. It was a priceless super holy medicine. Chu Shanhe knew how precious this medicine was. He had an excited expression as he said to Chu Xinghe, "Why aren't you thanking me yet?" Chu Xinghe quickly stood up and bowed, "Many thanks, great elder." Chu Shanhe said, "Right now in the central state 4 young masters, Luo Xianglong and Yi Tianlang, are basically crippled. Yun Yao has become Chu Tian's follower, so she probably won't be able to do much. As long as you defeat Chu Tian in front of everyone, no one in Central State will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with you. Your reputation will even surpass what it was before." Chu Xinghe held the jade box, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. The humiliation that Chu Tian had given him had to be repaid 100 times over. "Don't find trouble with miracle commerce for now, just let them be at ease for a while. If we don't do anything, will the people of Central State think that the Chu family is afraid of them? It's fine, I just want to numb Chu Tian. If we don't make a move, then once we make a move, we must completely eradicate miracle commerce." Chu Shi revealed a ruthless expression. "The 2 old monsters of the Ye family and Luo family are currently in Imperial City. I have already written letters to them. When they return to Central State, at that time, the 3 remote elders working together, the 3 great families would be completely different." Chu Shanhe nodded. If it was like this, then there would be no mistakes. 30 to 40 years ago, of the 4 family heads, Yun Tianhe was the most outstanding one. However, the 3 remote elders had found a suitable successor, so they left the family to travel the world and find their own opportunities. Only Yun Tianhe had no successor, so he had no way to leave. Adding in the family's academic nature, there was no need for him to chase after strength. Because he stayed in Central State City for a long time, he was gradually surpassed by others. When the hurricane passes, only the grass will remain. Chu Shi was old and ruthless, the divine wind marquis is strong, and Chu Tian is in the limelight, so we'll hide and bide our time. The 3 great families were all over 100-year-old families, so they wouldn't be easily defeated. As long as the family's core strength was preserved, once the 3 remote elders worked together, even Shen Fengho would have to worry about them. Once a suitable opportunity appeared, wouldn't it be easy to eliminate Chu Tian? It wasn't a big deal if there was criticism, because the result would prove everything. This was just a backup plan that Chu Xinghe had left behind. This was something that Chu Xinghe could not directly kill Chu Tian. Of course, Chu Shi did not think that Chu Xinghe could not beat Chu Tian. He was worried that the divine wind marquis would investigate and stop Chu Xinghe from killing Chu Tian. Chu Shanhe let out a long sigh of relief. With the remote elders' overall plan, there was nothing to worry about. Most of the Chu family's territory was fought for by the remote elder, and the others were veterans of the family. They were all ruthless, and not a single one of them was a normal person. So what if it was the divine wind marquis? Even if he was a generation's marquis, even if he was a veteran of the battlefield, he might not be able to beat the three families in this kind of battle. Just wait. Chu Tian did not have many good days left. The next day, the news spread throughout Central State City. The Chu family remote elder had appeared and Chu Xinghe had publicly challenged Chu Tian. The Chu family even held a press conference and arrogantly said, right now Chu Tian was too weak. Even if Chu Xinghe defeated him, it would be an unfair victory. So, they would give Chu Tian some time and let Chu Tian break into the illustrious Soul Realm before fighting again. When this news spread, Central State City was shaken. Chu Xinghe had publicly challenged Chu Tian. This was a battle that people were looking forward to. Was Chu Tian weak? Of course not. He had defeated Luo Xianglong and Yi Tianlang by himself. He had defeated two young masters by himself. This was enough to prove that Chu Tian had the qualifications to be on the same level as Chu Xinghe. Now, Chu Tian was listed as a new super genius, and he was even given a resounding title, Young Master Netherworld. He got his name from his strange and unfathomable sword technique. Being able to obtain such a title was enough to represent Chu Tian's position in the hearts of the people. When the Chu family's voice came from afar, Chu Tian revealed a faint smile. The Chu family was so good that they were waiting for him to break through. It was all bullshit. It was just that Chu Xinghe's injuries were still healed, so he couldn't fight directly. He was pretending to give Chu Tian time, giving the Chu family a way out of this embarrassing situation, showing off their family's boldness. Chu Tian's guess was pretty much the same, but it wasn't complete. It was true that Chu Xinghe's injuries had not healed, but delaying the duel was not only to heal, but also to break through. Even a top-grade sacred herb couldn't be swallowed in one gulp. That was too much of a waste. In order to maximize the value of the sacred herb, he had to spend time looking for supplementary materials. Yunyao still felt that this wasn't a good idea. Are you really going to openly fight him? Chu Xinghe is completely different from the two you defeated. I'm very clear on his strength. Chu Tian had fought with Chu Xinghe in the trial space, so he knew how strong Chu Xinghe's sword art was. Moreover, with Chu Xinghe's full-strength attack, it was enough to kill an opponent several levels higher. Let him come. If he dares to challenge me, I will accept. Yunyao really did not believe that Chu Tian could defeat Chu Xinghe. Only Chu Tian had created too many miracles, so even Yunyao was a bit hesitant. No matter how they looked at it, it was impossible for him to surpass Chu Xinghe, but what if he did something unexpected? In the trial tower, didn't no one think highly of him? The final result made people's eyes pop out. Chu Tian put aside this matter and focused on helping the young Miss, Yingying, Nangong, and the others cultivate. The young Miss and Yingying were both at the peak first awakened soul layer, and the Starlight immortal body had reached the peak of the glass body. With the help of the Starlight stone and medicine, the Starlight immortal body had already reached the peak, so it broke through without any suspense. The two of them had also reached the second awakened soul layer. Not only that, Chu Tian brought a large amount of half-step saint-grade medicine and combined it with the 10,000-year-old spiritual honey. They had reached the triple awakened soul realm. The young Miss and Yingying were not battle-type geniuses, so there was no need to consolidate their cultivation techniques. Chu Tian spared no effort in raising their cultivation bases, so their cultivation speed was very fast. It was estimated that in 10 days, they would reach the peak of the triple awakened soul realm. Chu Tian and Nangong Yun were not idle either. They had officially reached the peak of the triple awakened soul realm. During this period of time, they had been spending money at an extremely fast pace. Their total expenditure was estimated to reach 1 to 200 million gold coins. Even for the four major families, this was a very large sum. Miracle commerce was expanding very quickly, but most of their funds were used for investment and development. They could only borrow money from the Yun family in the name of the company to maintain their expenses. This money was not a small number for the Yun family. Chu Tian helped the Yun family refine a sacred pill, increasing Yun Yao's chances of breaking through to the fifth awakened soul layer. It had to be known. This era's alchemy was very simple. The pills refined by Southern Xia's alchemy grandmasters using medium-grade sacred herbs could not compare to the pills refined by Chu Tian using low-grade sacred herbs. So, when Chu Tian helped Yunyao refine a sacred pill, it could increase the quality of the pill by more than double. Yunyao's potential was not bad. The cultivation technique she was using now had been personally modified by Chu Tian. Yunyao had a large chance of breaking through to the fifth awakened soul layer. Lin Mu, Fang Han, and Yun Xiao had almost reached the triple awakened soul realm. Lin Mu and Fang Han had exchanged for a sacred herb in the trial tower, preparing to break through to the fourth awakened soul layer. Yun Xiao also had the support of his family, so these weakest members had a lot of room for improvement. The consumption of resources was becoming faster and faster. With Chu Tian as the leader, the young Miss, Yingying, Lin Mu, Fang Han, and Nangong all needed to refine sacred pills. There were quite a few half-step sacred herbs, so the 100 million gold coins they borrowed from the Yun family was not enough. They had to use several tens of millions from the Miracle Commerce account to satisfy their needs. The consumption of cultivation was too large. Chu Tian needed to spare no effort to develop the company. The four great families were raising four important heirs. Why was this? Did the four great families not have any other talents? Wrong. Actually, there were quite a few talented people, but even a power like the four great families would find it hard to raise all of them at once. They could only raise a few important ones. Chu Tian had realized this a long time ago. The top powers on the continent did not have the most geniuses, but rather they had the most resources. The construction of a power and a person's cultivation did not contradict each other. Chapter 204. When the news of Chu Xinghe publicly challenging Chu Tian was released by the Chu family, it shook Central State City. Everyone quickly calmed down. The three great families all went into hiding, avoiding a conflict with Miracle Commerce. Miracle Commerce boldly advanced, combining the Yun family and several dozen other families. Now they had become a superpower after the four great families. Mayor Feng Yunlong's teeth itched with hatred. In the end, he was being controlled by Shen Fengho and Feng Yuntian. Now all the power was given to him by his clan brother. If Shen Fengho could give it to them, then he could take it back. Last time when he incited Shen Guanming to deal with Chu Tian, Shen Fengho was already very dissatisfied. Feng Yunlong had to consider his clan brother's attitude. Not to mention the fact that the Feng family's influence in Central State City was not as deep as the four great families, so the four great families did not dare make a move. Once the mayor made a mistake and angered several medium-sized powers, there was the danger of him becoming a mere figurehead. He could only watch as Miracle Commerce became bigger. At this time, it had been half a month since Chu Tian fought Luo Xianglong and Yi Tianlang. Meng Yingying, Meng Qingguo, Lin Mu, Fang Han, and Chu Tian had all reached the peak of the triple awakened soul layer. Yunyao had reached the peak fourth awakened soul layer. Nangong Yun, Feng Kaidai, and Yunyao's progress was faster and they had already gathered all the materials they needed. Chu Tian personally used the limitless gourd as a pill furnace to refine a saint-level pill for the three of them. Chu Tian's alchemy skills far surpassed this era. A low-grade saint pill refined from Chu Tian's hands had an effect that surpassed most of the medium-grade saint pills of this era. The limitless gourd itself was a very rare treasure. Using this gourd to refine a pill, it would contain a trace of pure earth source qi, so it could increase the effect of the pill. Yunyao was breaking through from the peak fourth awakened soul layer to the fifth awakened soul layer. There was no bottleneck blocking her, so there was no suspense at all. Nangong Yun and Feng Kaidai had entered the illustrious soul realm from the void soul realm, but with Chu Tian's guidance and help, they had a 70 to 80% chance of success. The effect of the limitless gourd surprised Chu Tian. Because in the process of using the limitless gourd to concoct pills, the gourd itself contained Mother Earth Qi that could nourish the pills, and the waste produced during the concoction would be absorbed by the limitless gourd, turning the useless waste into the gourd's waste. The gourd was not an inanimate object. It was a seedling full of vitality. Chu Tian used the water of life to irrigate it and then used the gourd to refine pills and items. The limitless gourd would slowly grow and the storage space inside would become bigger and bigger. When it was fully grown, it would even have many other functions. Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Come out quickly. Meng Yingying ran to the door excitedly. I have good news for you. Chu Tian was a bit puzzled. What is it? Meng Yingying said with an excited expression, I've gone with Uncle Xiong to the Xiong family. I've already discussed it with Great General Xiong Wuji and the Central State Xiong family has officially formed an alliance with Miracle Commerce. This was indeed a very good thing. The Xiong family had a very high status in Central State, only inferior to the four great families. Only the Xiong family was a family of generals, so they weren't good at business. They didn't have the surplus of the four great families, so they didn't have many resources and couldn't cultivate geniuses like the four young masters. Xiong Tianyan personally pulled the strings. Meng Yingying went to visit the great general and reached an agreement with the Xiong family. Meng Yingying was prepared to open 10 large canned food factories. If Miracle Commerce recruited people to build their own factories, it would take a long time, so they needed to find a reliable agent. The Xiong family had land, people, and resources. The family's influence was very strong and reliable, so Meng Yingying reached an agreement with the Xiong family. The Xiong family would be responsible for producing canned food for Miracle Commerce. After this deal, the Xiong family would earn over 100 million gold coins every year, almost doubling the family's income. It would become the Xiong family's main source of income, which was a very happy matter. For Miracle Commerce, this was the fastest way to increase the canned food production. After the 10 canned food factories were put into production, they would be able to produce 5-6 million cans a month. Adding in the several small canned food factories, it would be enough to satisfy most of southern Xia's market demand. Letting the Xiong family earn a bit of processing fees, tying the entire Xiong family to Miracle Commerce's war chariot. This was definitely a very good deal. Meng Yingying had once again made a contribution to Miracle Commerce. While the two of them were talking, there was suddenly a terrifying pressure of a divine beast that covered the entire sky. The clouds in the sky were dyed red and the entire Miracle Commerce headquarters began to tremble. Meng Yingying said in a surprised voice, Fire Phoenix. It's Nangong. Chu Tian revealed a satisfied smile. Nangong has smoothly broken through, it seems like she has already broken through. That Saint Pill was not wasted. Among the people of Miracle Commerce, Nangong Yun was the fastest to reach the intermediate awakened soul realm. Nangong Yun's battle strength was already very strong. Now that she had broken through to the fourth awakened soul layer, she was already stronger than Yi Tianlang and Luo Xianglong. Even Chu Tian might not be able to beat her. Nangong Yun had the starlight immortal body and a cultivation at the fourth awakened soul layer. Her cultivation technique and martial arts were all top-notch, and she had a god-level source spirit to amplify her strength. Her current strength was above Chu Tian, but she was still lacking compared to Chu Xinghe. She was somewhere in between the two of them. Miracle Commerce had given birth to a strong person, which naturally made everyone excited. They all ran over to congratulate Nangong Yun. Although they knew it would be in 2 days. Thunder filled the sky at the Yun family headquarters as Yun Yao broke through. Yun Yao was the fastest of the 4 young masters to reach the 5th awakened soul layer. The Yun Yao that many people thought was about to fall behind was now walking in front of the 4 young masters. The strong and the weak had exchanged places and the situation had changed. At this point, the Central State 4 young masters had changed. Now they were, Heavenly Sword young master Chu Xinghe, Netherworld young master Chu Tian, Phoenix young master Nangong Yun, and Purple Lightning young master Yun Yao. The previous Prince Tianlang and the Dragon Tiger young master, after they were defeated in the decisive battle, they had no hope of catching up to the 4 of them. As for who was strong and who was weak, there was debate, but the Purple Lightning young master Yun Yao had the highest cultivation. Yun Tianhe was naturally wild with joy. He immediately held a grand celebration banquet at the Yun family headquarters, mainly inviting Miracle Commerce and the related partners to attend. Yun Yao's first breakthrough was a large encouragement to the alliance led by Miracle Commerce. It made the arrogance of the three great families suffer another blow. Chu Tian personally attended the banquet. He had his bodyguard Chen Bingyu and Vice Chairman Meng Qingguo accompany him. Meng Qingguo attracted everyone's attention as soon as she arrived. It wasn't because of Meng Qingguo's beauty and hot body, but rather because after Meng Qingguo came to Central State, she had quickly and accurately arranged everything, showing off her talent and ability in this aspect. Chu Tian's position in Miracle Commerce was incomparable, but the true management of the company was still done by Meng Qingguo. Chu Tian gave people a special feeling. He had an arrogant and temperamental personality, so it was better to get close to this beautiful and wise beauty. Perhaps he could obtain some benefits. Xiong Wuji came forward and cupped his hands. "Little brother Chu, when I first saw you in Yellowstone City, I knew you weren't a normal person, but I never thought that you would be able to stir up the entire Central State. Powerful, truly powerful." Chu Tian chuckled. "This is all thanks to the Xiong family's support. Right now we're all one family. The Xiong family is so poor that we can only hope to follow Miracle Commerce to get out of poverty." After Xiong Wuji greeted Chu Tian, he immediately chuckled and said to Meng Qingguo, "Chairman Meng's cultivation is rising very quickly. I think you've reached the peak of triple awakened soul." Meng Qingguo politely smiled. "Compared to the great general, Qingguo is still far from it." "How can you say that? I'm already 40 or 50 years old, my peak is slowly passing, it's not that easy to raise my cultivation." "On the contrary, Chairman Meng is only 20 years old, you're at the age where you can develop." Xiong Wuji waved his hand and several officers carried a box over. "Just in time, I heard that Miracle Commerce has been collecting some materials recently. The general's manor has some, I'll give it to you too." Meng Qingwu's heart moved. Miracle Commerce needed a lot of materials for the sacred pill. They had been searching all over the Central State city market, but they still hadn't bought all of them. Of course they couldn't rule out the possibility that the three great families were secretly causing trouble, using this method to delay Chu Tian's cultivation progress. There's no such thing as an undeserved reward, Miracle Commerce won't take advantage of others. Meng Qingguo bluntly accepted it. "After we've evaluated the value of these materials, we'll definitely send the money to the general's manor." Xiong Wuji laughed. "You're too polite, you're too polite." Not long after Xiong Wuji left, the Jing family's Jing house sent over another batch of materials. This was what Miracle Commerce needed. Chu Tian was puzzled. Materials that couldn't be bought with money. But after attending the Yun family's banquet, he received this much. Did these fellows know that Miracle Commerce needed these things, so they deliberately bought them from the market early and gave them to Miracle Commerce as a gift to earn a favor from Miracle Commerce? Of course. This reflected the current influence of Miracle Commerce. Only when one's own strength was strong would people come to curry favor with them. Chu Tian did not have time to deal with the merchants, so he left it to Meng Qingguo to mediate. Chu Tian ran to find Yun Tianhe. "Old man Yun, congratulations, the Yun family finally has a successor. Yun Yao's achievements in the future will most likely be above yours." Yun Tianhe's face was red, it was clear he was very excited. This time he had completely swept away the family's decline, how could Yun Tianhe not be happy? "You've come at the right time. I have an idea and I've asked the elders for your opinion." Yun Tianhe seemed to have made a decision. "I've decided to make Yun Yao the acting family head and send several senior elders to support her, while I will retire from the front lines." The meaning behind these words was not ordinary. Yun Tianhe had given the authority to Yun Yao and Yun Yao had a good relationship with Chu Tian. She was managing Qilin Hall with Nangong Yun and could be considered half a high-level member of Miracle Commerce. Once Yun Yao controlled the Yun family, she would definitely be able to cooperate with Miracle Commerce. Chu Tian laughed and said, "Old Yun's treasured blade is not old, why do you want to retire?" Yun Tianhe's old eyes flashed with a wise glow. "This family will be handed over to the next generation sooner or later. While this old man still has a few more years to live, it is a good thing to support them. For me, this is letting go of worldly matters and allowing me to do more meaningful things. You mean? I plan to further deepen the cooperation between the Yun sect and the Miracle Research Institute. It would be best if we could combine the two into one, creating a large research and scholar organization. Chu Tian was shocked. He really had to admire Yun Tianhe's boldness. The Yun sect was the foundation of the family and the core benefits of the family. 90% of the Yun family's fame in southern Xia was due to the Yun sect. The Yun sect's talismans, medicines, martial arts, and other inventions also brought the Yun family a large amount of profit. The Yun sect and the Miracle Research Institute merging was like giving half of the Yun sect to Miracle Commerce. Miracle Commerce's influence and expansion speed, as well as the constant recruitment of top talents, the world would soon only know about the Miracle Research Institute and not the Yun sect. This was not a good thing for the Yun family. But it was a large benefit for Miracle Commerce. This was because no matter how fast Miracle Commerce developed, it was still a new power that had only been established for less than half a year. Resources and talents could not be completed in a day, it required a long period of accumulation. Once the 100-year-old Yun sect merged with the Miracle Research Institute, they would be able to complement each other, allowing Miracle Commerce to have a first-class research strength and foundation in southern Xia. Alright, but two names is too troublesome, Chu Tian thought about it. From now on, Miracle Commerce's Research Institute will be called the Yun sect. This time it was Yun Tianhe's turn to be shocked. Chu Tian abandoning the Miracle Commerce brand was undoubtedly a large gift to the Yun family. The name of the Research Institute was not important to Chu Tian, it was something dispensable, it was just an empty name. But, to a family, this empty name was a sharp weapon. Yun Tianhe was overjoyed. From today onwards, the new Yun sect will be established. In just a few words. Chu Tian and Yun Tianhe had reached a cooperation that could shake Central State. From now on, the Yun sect would separate from the Yun family and become a joint research institute, serving Miracle Commerce. The Yun sect's headquarters, as well as the scholars' equipment, as well as the 100 years of resources and reserves, would all be given to Miracle Commerce. The Yun sect was like a new power. Miracle Commerce and the Yun family each held half of the shares. Yun Tianhe believed that his decision would not be wrong. The Yun sect was a resource that Miracle Commerce needed, and the Yun sect would be driven by Miracle Commerce, jumping out of Central State, jumping out of Southern Summer, becoming famous across the continent. The basic structure of the Miracle Commerce Group had already been completed. There was the Miracle Dining Company, responsible for source energy cooking. There was the Miracle Media, responsible for broadcasting, communication, and other businesses. There was the Southern Cloud Commerce, responsible for talismans, medicine, and other traditional products. Other than that, they had purchased the Underworld Mercenary Group, creating their own private army. As for research, they had merged with the Yun sect, creating a first-class research team. Other than that, Qilin Hall was the training base for Miracle Commerce, constantly recruiting new talents and sending fresh blood to the company. It could also train internal members of Miracle Commerce, allowing the entire company to keep improving. Meng Qinggu had single-handedly created the Miracle Commerce Alliance. Now there were several dozen small and medium-sized powers in Central State, mainly responsible for providing factories, caravans, fleets, transporting resources, materials, and etc. From top to bottom, it covered everything, forming its own ecosystem. With Miracle Commerce developing to this point, it had already begun to soar. After clearing the obstacles in front of them, the road ahead would be smooth sailing. Chapter 205. Yun Tianhe announced his decision in front of everyone. The old patriarch had led the family for an entire 50 years. This was the most important decision, and it was also the last decision the old patriarch made before he left office. The Yun family would use all of their power to live and die with Miracle Commerce. If Miracle Commerce thrived, the Yun family would also prosper. If Miracle Commerce was destroyed, the Yun family would also suffer a large loss. Even an old clan leader in his twilight years had such boldness and ambition. An old family with 200-300 years of history had the determination to cut off all means of retreat. Then, these several dozen-year-old small families, what worries did they have? Even if the sky fell, there was still someone tall to hold it up. Everyone was even more determined to follow miracle commerce. As long as miracle commerce grew larger, they would earn more and more money. Meng Qinggu was very happy from the bottom of her heart. She never thought that old Senior Yun would trust Chu Tian to this degree. This time the Chu family, Luo family, and Ye family would not dare make a move. However, when the atmosphere of the Yun family's banquet reached its climax with this decision, a voice came from the Yun family, "Sir Mayor has arrived." When these words came out, everyone was shocked. Who didn't know about the relationship between Chu Tian and the mayor? Why would the mayor come to the Yun family at this time? But no matter what, the mayor was still the highest-ranked person in Central State City. Even if it was etiquette, they still had to greet him. "What are you staring at?" The Yun family revealed their hostility, but Yun Tianhe remained calm. "Sir Mayor has personally arrived, why aren't you welcoming him?" More than a dozen elite guards of the city lord's mansion walked in. They were fully armored with a murderous aura and held weapons that shone with a cold light. They stood neatly in 2 rows. That kind of murderous aura that had been on the battlefield for a long time made the festive and lively atmosphere of the banquet collapse. They did not come with good intentions. Let's see what they were planning. Mayor Feng Yunlong was wearing an official's robe with the mayor's jade crown on his head. There were several guards and scribes that followed him closely. "Old Yun." Feng Yunlong laughed as he walked in, saying in a complaining tone, "Purple Lightning young master's cultivation has greatly improved. This is a joyous matter for Central State City. How could you not inform this city lord? No matter what, I should send a congratulatory gift to encourage him." Everyone looked at each other. If not for the fact that everyone knew the inside story, they would have thought that the Yun family had a very good relationship with the mayor. Yun Tianhe cupped his hands to the mayor and humbly said, "It's just a small improvement, I don't dare disturb the mayor." Modest, too modest. City Lord Feng Yunlong waved his hand, "Come, present the gift." 2 guards carried a large box and placed it on the table. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. The whole place was silent. What was the city lord up to? Commoner Chu Tian greets the city lord. Chu Tian charged out and bowed to the mayor in an exaggerated manner. "I wish Sir Mayor 1,000 years of life. I also wish that the mayor's son will recover soon and bring glory to Central State City." Puff. Someone could not help but laugh out loud. Chu Tian was trying to anger the mayor. No matter how good Feng Yunlong's acting skills were, he couldn't help twitching at this moment. He gritted his teeth and said, "Chairman Chu Tian is very thoughtful. This mayor was impulsive in the past and had a misunderstanding with your excellency. I hope that you won't take it to heart." Chu Tian laughed, "How could that be? I'm naturally annoying, so I'm often bitten by dogs when I go out. But this kind of thing happens a lot, so I just laugh it off and don't take it to heart. I just hope that the mayor doesn't dislike this commoner." Feng Yunlong's veins popped out. This was going too far. How dare he compare the city lord to a disdainful cat and dog? Chu Tian's sarcasm was very obvious and everyone present could hear it. The mayor was pretending to be deaf and mute, that was just asking to be humiliated. Yun Tianhe saw that the mayor was about to explode, so he could only give a bitter laugh and welcome him. "Sir Mayor, please sit." "No need." The mayor was too lazy to pretend and said in a cold voice, "This mayor has a reason for coming to your Yun family. I have an urgent mission for Central State City." Everyone was stunned hearing this. The mayor took out a black token. "Take a look and see what this is." This was a token shaped like a short sword. The material of the token itself was not very rare, but there was a strong killing intent and prestige coming from it. There was a large, martial, word written on it. "Ruler's token." Yun Tianhe and the others were shocked. Feng Yunlong coldly said, "The calm martial ruler's order is here. why haven't you bowed yet? Everyone seemed like they had awoken from a dream. They quickly stood in rows and respectfully bowed down. Yun Tianhe and Xiong Wuji deeply bowed down. Chu Tian was also pulled to the side by Meng Qinggu. When he saw that Meng Qinggu's expression was not right, his heart was filled with curiosity. What is the ruler's token? Lower your voice. Meng Qinggu said in a low voice, the so-called ruler's token is the token of a ruler. In southern Xia, there are only 3 levels of nobility: marquis, ruler, and king. The marquis refers to the 8 marquises of a county, the ruler refers to the 3 rulers of imperial city, and the highest king is the king of southern Xia. 3 rulers? Wouldn't they have a higher status than the 8 marquises? Meng Qinggu continued to explain, the 3 rulers of southern Xia are the burning sun ruler Nangong Yan, the calm martial ruler Dongfang Gan, and the refined ruler Shangguan Sangfeng. The burning sun ruler, the calm martial ruler, and the refined ruler? Even if Chu Tian was a fool, he could tell that these were the 3 great families of the southern summer country. It was no wonder the 3 great families had such a great reputation. The 3 rulers of southern Xia were in the hands of the 3 great families. The calm martial ruler was the Dongfang family's patriarch and was said to be the highest commander of the southern Xia military. He was in charge of all military matters and the movement of troops. It could be said. The calm martial ruler had the highest authority out of the 3 rulers and was the protector of the people of southern Xia. He had led an army of 1 million to resist the spirit beast army for a long time, so the 200 million people of southern Xia could live in peace. Otherwise, once the northern battlefront was broken, there would be no eggs left intact. All of southern Xia would be in a terrible situation. This kind of important character of the kingdom had actually personally sent an order to Central State. This was truly incredible. Yun Tianhe's heart began to feel a bit anxious. The calm martial ruler was a ruthless and iron-blooded person. Whoever dared to disobey his orders would suffer the same fate as the 3 clans. Even the Central State 4 great families were the same. The ruler's order could not be faked. It was impossible for Feng Yunlong to forge the calm martial ruler's order, otherwise even Shen Fengho would not be able to protect him. The ruler's order had arrived and the ruler's letter had arrived. The ruler's order was just a token, the true content was the ruler's letter. Then what would the content of the calm martial ruler's letter be? This was not a normal matter. If the mayor used this chance to deal with Chu Tian, then Chu Tian would not be able to resist no matter what. The mayor loudly shouted, "Read the ruler's letter." 2 civil officials respectfully stepped forward and carefully opened the purple gold box. They took out a scroll with a flood dragon drawn on it and slowly unrolled it before reading it aloud. The calm martial ruler's letter. In the south-central region of the kingdom, a strange phenomenon has occurred. There are burning demon stones falling from the sky and falling into Thunder State's mirror, destroying a city and injuring millions of citizens. Countless demons have appeared, polluting the kingdom's soil and causing heavy casualties. Southern State and Central State are ordered to quickly send reinforcements and exterminate the demons, rescuing Thunder State. The young talents of the 3 countries will use this chance to gain experience and will be personally selected by the mayor. There will be no refusal or retreat. Anyone who makes a great contribution will be heavily rewarded by this ruler. This is a matter of urgency and will be carried out immediately. The slow ones will be the 3 great clans. Feng Yunlong respectfully sent the ruler's letter back and looked at everyone with a cold smile. The ruler's letter has already explained the situation very clearly. Do you still have any doubts? Yun Tianhe's heart couldn't help sinking. This is bad. Thunder State's natural disaster. Central State and Southern State were very close, so they should cooperate with Thunder State. However, the calm martial ruler wanted to use this chance to gain experience for the youths, which was exactly what Feng Yunlong wanted. Although the ruler's letter was very simple, it was serious to the point that the other states needed help. This meant that Thunder State's current situation was very bad, which meant that this mission was very dangerous. The most damning thing was that the right to choose the people had fallen into the mayor's hands. Feng Yunlong said with a smile, of the young talents of Central State City, Chu Xinghe, Luo Xianglong, Yi Tianlang, and Yun Yao are the most famous. There should be 4 of them, but the first 3 are still heavily injured, so they are not suitable to participate in this mission. It just so happens that Yun Yao has broken through to the 5th awakened soul layer, so she can be the leader of the young talents of Central State. Yun Tianhe's face turned dark. He could not reject the ruler's letter and the ruler's order. Other than that, the main city has been talking about the new 4 young masters. The Netherworld young master Chu Tian and the Phoenix young master Nan Gong Yun are also popular. Meng Qinggu tightly clenched her fists. The city lord was using his position to avenge a personal grudge. Since it's like this, I won't shirk my duty. Yun Tianhe knew that trouble couldn't be avoided this time. This old man requests to be the leader of the Central State Rescue Army. The leader of the rescue team naturally needs 1 or 2 true soul realm experts, but old Yun is a scholar, so it's a bit inappropriate for you to go on this mission. A strange light flashed in Feng Yunlong's eyes. I have a suitable candidate. The grand elder of the Chu family, Chu Shi, has just returned to the city. Chu Shi's cultivation is profound and he is known as the blood drinker sword. His prestige is not inferior to Elder Yun, so I want him to lead the team. Yun Tianhe finally couldn't help it. You're deliberately making things hard for me. I disagree. If Chu Shi brought Chu Tian's group to the distant Thunder Province, would Chu Tian be able to return alive? Feng Yunlong coldly smiled and said, this city lord is only speaking the facts. This time, Thunder State has suffered a calamity and will be in great danger. Of course we will send a strong person to deal with it. Old Yun and Chu Shi are both true soul realm experts, but in terms of battle strength, I'm afraid Chu Shi is stronger. Jun Ling and Jun Shu are here. Let's see where you can run this time. Feng Yunlong's arrangement was selfish, but it was reasonable. Even if he reported it to Imperial City, there was nothing they could say. Chu Shi has just returned to Central State, so let him rest. A soft voice rang out that made everyone's bodies tremble. According to what I know, Thunder State's Golden Arrow Marquis and Southern State's Western Marquis will personally make a move. Our Central State cannot lose this lineup. This Marquis will personally lead the team. Can also use this chance to gain some experience. 2 silhouettes gently floated down. Shen Fengho had arrived with Feng Kaidai. Feng Katie's aura was completely different from before. Feng Yunlong's face instantly sunk because Feng Katie's cultivation had reached the 4th awakened soul layer. He never would have thought that Shen Fengho would appear again. Damn! This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but with Shen Fengho appearing, the situation had become even more complicated. Shen Fengho looked at Feng Yunlong. Do you have any other opinions? No. I don't dare. Feng Yunlong felt his clan brother's dissatisfaction and a trace of anger, so he quickly bowed and said, I will follow clan brother's wishes. This matter is decided. Shen Fengho waved his hand. Prepare the ships and gather the elite storm cavalry. We will leave tomorrow evening. We will arrive in Thunder State as soon as possible to save natural disaster. Chapter 206. This was a completely unexpected matter. No one was prepared for it at all. Even Shen Fengho had to listen to the calm martial ruler of the Southern Summer 3 rulers, not to mention the small families of Central State City. This mission is very dangerous and the mayor wants to use this chance to deal with you. Even if he can't get rid of you in one fell swoop, he wants to cut off our wings. The mayor had already left. Meng Qingwu's beautiful face revealed a look of deep worry. I think Shen Fengho owes you a large favor. Is there any leeway to mediate this matter? A gentleman does not stand on a collapsing wall. There is no need to take this risk. Chu Tian revealed an evil smile. Is the young miss worried about me? Even so. Meng Qingwu's jade cheeks were covered in a faint blush. Her eyes were a bit evasive as she gave a soft snort. Who told you to be the chairman? We have to follow you to make a living. Miracle commerce is at a critical point in its development. We can't afford any mistakes. Moreover, Is this a plan to lure the tiger away from the mountain? If you and Shen Fengho leave the main city, we will be weak in Central State. This woman really cared about Face. She was clearly worried about him, but she had to find a reason. Shen Fengho owed Chu Tian a great favor, so he could use this favor. Although the calm martial ruler was ruthless and decisive, Shen Fengho was still a large character in southern Xia. The calm martial ruler did not need to give face to normal people, but he still needed to give face to Shen Fengho. The southern summer 3 rulers and 8 marquises. The 3 rulers ruled the imperial city and the 8 marquises ruled the states. Although the ruler title was higher than the marquis title was still very important. Opportunities are often accompanied by danger. Chu Tian's attitude was a bit strange. I'll understand it first. Did he really think Chu Tian was a fool? If the risks and rewards were not proportional, he would not be so bored as to take unnecessary risks. In reality, Chu Tian was very interested in the burning demon stone described in the monarch's letter. A burning demon stone that fell from the sky had almost destroyed an entire city, causing the deaths of millions of citizens. Countless citizens had lost their homes, and the local area was overrun with demons. What was a demon stone? Why does he have such power? Therefore, there was no harm in understanding the situation before making a decision. President Chu, Miss Feng invites you over. They should have gotten the information. Let's go and take a look. Feng Kaidai, Nangong Yun, and Yun Ya were already in a secret discussion. They were the super geniuses of the central state that had been chosen to go to the Thunder State to participate in the training. Shen Fengho brought a batch of confidential information which was distributed along with the monarch's edict. Oh my god! 2 million casualties. About 4 to 5 million people lost their homes. After Nangong Yun looked at the detailed information, she couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Jun Shu clearly didn't write it to be so serious. Feng Kaidai shook her head. The monarch's letter is to be made public. Of course, we have to take the appropriate measures to reduce the impact and avoid any adverse consequences. However, from the information I have gathered, I'm afraid that 1/5 of the population of Thunder Province has been affected to varying degrees. It's just a demon stone from the heavens, how could it have such power? Yun Yao was also very shocked. The calm martial ruler has prepared a level 2 top grade sacred herb to reward the person with the most merit. Level 2 best grade sacred herb. It was precious even to true soul realm experts. The calm martial ruler was truly worthy of being one of the 3 rulers of the southern summer country. His actions were truly extraordinary. Feng Kaidai also nodded. This is only the basic reward. If one can obtain the calm martial ruler's recognition, it will be more precious than any sacred herb. That's right. The calm martial ruler was the head of the 3 rulers of the southern summer country. He was an extremely important minister to the southern summer king, so what could be more important than the calm martial ruler's recognition? Even being remembered by the calm martial ruler was a great fortune. This mission could be considered an opportunity. At this time, Chu Tian brought Meng Qingguo and Chen Bingyu in. Nangong Yun quickly shouted out, "Boss, quickly come and take a look. We've had a lot of fun this time." Nangong Yun wanted to see the world in chaos, so she was very interested in taking risks. Meng Qingguo looked over the information and couldn't help feeling shocked. It was hard to imagine, why did this kind of large-scale natural disaster suddenly erupt? This was too terrifying. If it appeared in Central State, she didn't know what her life would be like. The world was not as peaceful as she imagined. Chu Tian knit his brows in thought, is there a detailed description of the demon stone? Shen Fengho walked into the room and revealed a faint smile to Chu Tian. There were people who saw the demon stone in the distance. It was like a meteor falling across the sky, but it was covered in green flames. It fell into a bustling city and caused heavy casualties. This was because the destruction it caused was too great, so it was hard to find any survivors who saw it from a close distance. A meteor covered in green flames. It fell right in the middle of a bustling city. Chu Tian slightly knit his brows. Shen Fengho saw Chu Tian reveal this expression and his heart couldn't help skipping a beat. Could it be that Chu Tian knew what it was? Chu Tian's knowledge had gained the admiration of his daughter many times, which meant that he had an extraordinary cognitive ability. If he could figure out the true body of the demon stone, he wouldn't be this blind. The calm martial ruler's biggest headache right now is not knowing the origin of the demon stone. Is it a natural disaster or a man-made disaster? What kind of natural disaster is it and what kind of effects it will bring? Chu Tian nodded. After the demon stone fell, what happened to the local area? There were people who saw a monster that could spit out green flames. It had a shocking battle strength and was constantly attacking the nearby cities. Shen Fengho paused for a bit. That's right, there were also rumors that large amounts of dead citizens were coming back to life. Their bodies seemed to be heavily burned and their eyes were filled with green flames, becoming very aggressive. With this information, can you make any speculations? There's no need to speculate. Chu Tian directly replied, it's the Abyss Demon. Everyone was stunned. Abyss Demon? This term was very unfamiliar. The world we live in is a plane formed after the Great Ancient Era shattered. The Great Ancient Era shattered and formed many different planes. These planes all follow a certain pattern in a vast, cold, and dark void world. Chu Tian paused for a bit. This endless void world is called the Abyss World. Nangong Yun and Feng Kaidai revealed expressions of interest. They had never heard of such a thing before. Shen Fengho also felt it was very novel. Then what is the Abyss Demon? Chu Tian replied, the abyss seems to be empty and silent, but it is actually filled with countless life forms. Many of these life forms are very ancient, even appearing before the Great Ancient Era shattered. However, the environment of the abyss is extremely harsh and the resources are very poor. Any life form that can survive in this harsh environment is definitely very powerful and extremely cruel. Plundering and killing is their nature and it has been ingrained into their bones over millions of years of evolution. That is why they are called demons. It wasn't that Shen Fengho didn't believe Chu Tian, but there was no proof of the plane theory, not to mention the illusory abyss world. How can you be sure that it is an abyss demon? First, before it fell from the sky in the form of a meteor, there were some strange phenomena in the thunder state. That was caused by a plane crack. Second, the area with human activity is less than 1/1000th of the land, yet it fell precisely in the center of a bustling city. Do you think it's such a coincidence? Nangong Yun rubbed her chin. It truly is a coincidence. Third, after the demon stone fell, it polluted a large area, causing many monsters to appear and the dead humans to be controlled. This is all caused by the demonic energy. These controlled demons are attacking the surrounding towns with a purpose, which means that there's a will controlling them. Shen Fengho's heart was filled with shock. He thought it was caused by a natural disaster. He never thought that it would be a creature he had never heard of before. If Chu Tian's words were confirmed, then it would have a large meaning. Chu Tian said this before asking, what does the calm martial ruler plan to do? The 3 states will split their forces into 3 groups. They will first take back the occupied cities and then use these places as bases to set up camps for refugees. They will also clear out the surrounding demons and seal off the worsening area, preventing it from spreading. Finally, they will gather at the center of the city and destroy the monsters in one fell swoop. This strategy seems safe, but it is actually a big mistake. Everyone's expressions changed. The calm martial ruler was the southern summer country's military god, but Chu Tian had actually destroyed the calm martial ruler's plan. If this was spread out, Chu Tian would not even be able to keep his head. When the abyss demon passes through the planar crack, its vitality will be greatly injured and its strength will be greatly reduced, even going into hibernation for a period of time. It needs to swallow large amounts of blood essence and souls to recover its strength, which is the reason why it has descended in a densely populated area. As for the demons that are sent out, it is purely to collect soul essence and help it recover its strength while stalling for time. Your meaning is, against the abyss demon that has crossed the planar crack, we have to finish it quickly. We can't delay it. Chu Tian paused and then said in a serious tone, if we give it another half a month, even if the calm martial ruler personally comes, he won't be able to deal with it. Shen Fengho said, there are too many demons and if we directly attack, we will suffer quite a bit of losses. Moreover, if we go in alone and there are countless demons attacking, wouldn't we be trapped inside? There is no other choice. We can only stake it all on one throw and completely eliminate the demons. Only then can we solve this problem. Because once the abyss demon is killed, these small demons will collapse without attacking. Chu Tian directly said, if the calm martial ruler doesn't listen to me, then I'll just stay in Central State. I'd better stay in the Central State, I don't want to die with you. Nan Gongyun said in a serious voice, if boss doesn't go, then I won't go. She had 100% trust in Chu Tian. If Chu Tian said he was going to die, then he would definitely not come back alive. Shen Fengho thought about it for a few seconds, I'll report this to the calm martial ruler. After a few hours. In southern Summer's imperial city. In a certain heavily guarded palace. A man wearing blood-red armor quickly entered the main hall and respectfully kneeled in front of the door, reporting to the calm martial ruler, Shen Fengho has sent an urgent military report with the 1,000-mile stone. The 1,000-mile stone was a very expensive thing. Each state only had 1 or 2 pieces. Although southern Xia was a small country, it was still several tens of millions of square kilometers and only had a population of 200 million. In this era where communication was hard to reach, anything that happened in a state would already be too late by the time it reached Imperial City. This 1,000-mile stone was used to send the most urgent military reports, like the invasion of a foreign race or the change in Thunder State. It was to let Imperial City receive the news as soon as possible. Central State using the 1,000-mile stone meant there was an urgent matter that needed to be reported. The calm martial ruler received the urgent report from Shen Fengho. After reading the contents, his brows deeply knit together and he muttered to himself for a few seconds, Chu Tian. This common name was the first time the calm martial ruler heard it. Shen Fengho has always been calm. For him to think so highly of this young man, he must have some outstanding points. However, the calm martial ruler felt that this kind of strategy was too radical. Not knowing the enemy's situation and charging in alone would increase the risk. Ask the great scholar to come. After around 10 minutes. A white-haired old man walked into the hall. The calm martial ruler reported the situation to him. What does the great scholar think? Southern Xia's #1 scholar Gu Qianqiu pondered for a bit. I don't know who made this suggestion, but it's quite an opinion. Other worlds exist and the abyss also exists. As for the abyss demons, this old man doesn't know. But in this old man's opinion, when we are facing something unfamiliar, it is better to believe it is true. Since the great scholar said this, the calm martial ruler did not hesitate, the strategy has changed. Send an air cavalry envoy. Bring the ruler's token to Thunder State. Several blood-clothed guards quickly left. The calm martial ruler looked over the letter again, a young man that can solve the Central State Tower's 10,000-year problem. I hope you're right and don't disappoint me. Chapter 207. The next morning, Miracle Commerce's headquarters. Chu Tian gave Meng Qinggu several documents that he had completed overnight. There were several important projects for Miracle Commerce, such as the core technology for electromagnetic communication. The Yun sect's research could not stop. Chu Tian was not in Central State, so he had Meng Qinggu take charge. The new Cloud sect was made up of over 100 elite scholars. They were mainly responsible for correcting the flaws and making up for the flaws. They collected large amounts of data and after a series of improvements, they would finally put it into practice. Meng Qinggu had the heavenly book source spirit, so she could learn very quickly. In just a short month, with just the awakened memories from the heavenly book source spirit and the constant learning, she could not give it to a normal Yun sect scholar. She would be in charge and Yun Tianhe would be her assistant. Chu Tian could be completely assured. Meng Qinggu revealed a depressed expression. You still decided to participate in this mission? This has nothing to do with the calm martial ruler's orders. Chu Tian revealed a mysterious smile. I am interested in the mission itself. More accurately speaking, I am interested in the Abyss Demon in Thunder State. Perhaps it has something I need on it. You don't even know how strong it is and you dare to take this risk. Relax, I have a secret weapon in my hands. Chu Tian had a large amount of diluted spiritual god blood. Not only could it break curses, it was also very useful against demons and demons. An abyss demon that had only been here for a few days shouldn't be that strong. It wasn't the first day she knew Chu Tian. This fellow always kept his word, and since he had decided to go, she did not have the ability to stop him. Meng Qinggu was a smart woman. If she couldn't stop him, she would support him. What else do you need? I'll help you prepare it. I want some high-quality beast skins and a pole made of mithril. Chu Tian listed out a large pile of materials. Meng Qinggu could hear that this was for a raise. With Miracle Commerce's current ability, it wasn't hard to obtain these things, so she sent people to prepare them without another word. Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Meng Yingying anxiously ran into the room. I saw the announcement. Are you going to Lizhou? Chu Tian nodded. We'll depart in the evening. Meng Yingying quickly shouted, bring me along. Yingying. Meng Qingwu's beautiful eyes stared at her and she sternly reprimanded, don't cause trouble. I won't cause trouble. Meng Yingying grabbed Chu Tian's arm and shook it hard. I want to go out with you. I've never been further than the main city. Thunder Province is tens of thousands of miles away. Can't I broaden my horizons? No. Meng Qingwu was usually gentle, but when she was strict, she could be swift and decisive. Chu Tian is carrying an important mission, not going on a vacation. What if you distract Chu Tian by following him? I also have a mission. Meng Yingying did not dare look at her elder sister. She hid behind Chu Tian and revealed her head to explain, we are working with the great general to build a canned food factory. Miracle Commerce's canned food production will explode and we will sell it outside of Central State sooner or later. This time the soldiers from several states are gathering in Lizhou. It is a good chance to open up the market. Don't you think so? Chu Tian. The little girl winked at Chu Tian. No matter what her little sister said, Meng Qingwu firmly disagreed. After all, in Meng Qingwu's heart, her little sister was the most important family member. She would not allow her little sister to take risks. Young Miss is worrying too much. Yingying is at the peak of the triple awakened soul and has cultivated the starlight immortal body to the diamond body. With this kind of defense, there is no one that can injure her. Chu Tian helped Meng Yingying. If Yingying wants to see the world, then let her go. I will have Lin Mu and Fang Han protect her. She won't go too deep into the disaster area and will only be responsible for logistics. There won't be any problems. Meng Yingying had the starlight immortal body. Her battle strength was not high, but her defense was very strong. Even a normal fourth awakened soul layer cultivator would not be able to injure her. Letting her do logistics work, there was no risk at all. Meng Qingwu knit her brows and was still a bit hesitant. This. Chu Tian said, Yingying can't live in a comfortable environment, letting her see the disasters of the world is also a good thing. With me here, it will be fine. Meng Qingwu gritted her teeth and stared at her little sister as she said, you have to listen to Chu Tian. Yay! Long live Chu Tian. It's decided like this. Meng Yingying was filled with joy as she rushed out the door. I'm going to make preparations. Meng Qingwu had a headache look on her face. Just treat it as a form of training. Chu Tian did not feel like there was anything wrong with this. We will leave Central State sooner or later and even leave Southern Xia. There will be many unknown dangers in the future and many things we will have to face. Meng Qingwu was speechless. Yingying would bring a group of mercenaries to take care of logistics. This would not be too dangerous. Just as Meng Yingying had said, this disaster could be regarded as a business opportunity. They could use this opportunity to allow the canned food to flow into the 3 continents. They could also further expand the influence of the Chamber of Commerce and open up sales channels outside of the central state. I'll leave the 18 yin corpses for you to protect yourself. Chu Tian did not allow the young miss to object as he said, Chen Bingyu is enough to protect me. The young miss had already learned how to control the yin corpses to form an array. These 18 divine blood yin corpses had extraordinary battle strength. If they were used with the array that Chu Tian had invented, they could surpass a 5th awakened soul layer expert. They could even fight against a 6th awakened soul layer expert for a while. The young miss had the starlight immortal body and the 18 divine blood yin corpses to protect her, so her personal safety was guaranteed. This mission was very urgent, but if it went according to Chu Tian's plan, it would not take long. They would be back in 7-8 days and the 3 great families would not have the courage to make a move. Even if they did make a move, Central State City had Yun Tianhe and Xiong Wuji to look after them, so it was more than enough to last a few days. Chu Tian found Chen Bingyu in the cultivation room. Chen Bingyu had been cultivating with Chu Tian for a while and all the flaws in her cultivation technique had been improved. Her cultivation technique had even gone up a level and she could clearly feel her bottleneck loosen. She would be able to break through soon. Chen Bingyu was already in the peak 8th awakened soul layer. It could be imagined just how strong she was. Chu Tian did not even say a word. Chen Bingyu taking the initiative to protect Chu Tian made Chu Tian feel very surprised. It seemed like this beauty was dead set on him. Then again, with this kind of super bodyguard by his side, even if he encountered the worst situation, it would not be a problem for him to escape. On the same day, in the evening, everyone gathered at the Central State City docks. Meng Qingguo had brought the materials Chu Tian wanted. Chu Tian could use the boat to prepare for a few days. Meng Yingying had called the underworld mercenaries to bring 100 boxes of canned food, which represented Miracle Commerce's sponsorship for this mission. The soldiers all cheered. What kind of precious thing were canned food? Central State had already gone crazy, it was simply hard to find one. The price on the underground market had been raised by 4-5 times and there was still a shortage. How could normal people have a chance to taste it? With Meng Yingying's sponsorship of 100 boxes, everyone was blessed with good food, so their morale naturally rose. For this kind of disaster relief operation, speed was very important. The ruler's proclamation also said that they had to be fast and not slow. The reinforcements did not matter how good they were. Shen Fengho picked 1,500 cavalry vanguards and only brought a few days of rations. They threw away all their supplies and quickly arrived in Thunder State. This vanguard followed Chu Tian's suggestion. They ignored the other cities and headed straight for the center of the disaster area. Thunder State would gather the normal soldiers to transport the supplies and defend the rear. If the vanguard met a problem in the center of the disaster area, it would be convenient for them to support the retreat. The ships are here. 5 giant warships slowly approached the shore. This was the first time Chu Tian had seen a warship of this era up close. This ship was clearly very old and was actually made of wood. However, there were arrays engraved on the hull and sails, probably to reduce the weight, increase the speed, and strengthen the hull. The 5 warships were all similar, but the flagship was a bit larger. It was 50 meters long, 12 meters wide, and the main mast was 30 meters tall. It looked like it had a displacement of 600-700 tons. The walls separated the ship into 14 individual cabins, divided into 2 levels. The 9 lower cabins were beast cabins, specially for cavalry mounts, and the 5 upper cabins were normal cabins. Even the larger flagship could only fit around 400 people. After all, including the mounts, this was already the limit. Nan Gongyun asked in a puzzled voice, "Do we have to take a boat to Thunder State?" "We have to take a boat." Yun Yao explained, "Thunder State is on the northeast side of Central State. To the east of Central State is an ancient mountain range that stretches for several thousand miles, and to the north is a giant lake. It is impossible for our army to cross the Demon Beast mountain range to the east. There are probably more demon beasts there than there are people in Central State City, and the terrain is very complicated. Compared to that, the water route is much more convenient. These ships are the fastest warships in Central State. This was also Fong Katie's first time traveling, so she was very excited. The hull is made of a hard and light special wood. It is also engraved with the most advanced feather fall array, greatly reducing the weight of the hull. The sails are engraved with the wind gathering array, so even in a windless environment, it can attract the wind to increase its speed. It can reach a speed of around 60 km per hour and can reach a speed of 80 km per hour at full speed. When Meng Yingying heard this, she immediately counted with her fingers, so that means, if everything goes smoothly, we can reach Thunder State in 2 days? Wow! This is really fast. This was called the most advanced warship. Chu Tian gave a helpless sigh. Shen Fengho found several guides. These guides were all very experienced captains. They had floated on the Four States Lake for 10-20 years, so they were very clear about the environment of the Four States Lake. Prepare to set off. Chu Tian's group boarded the flagship with the army. Meng Yingying's excited little face turned red. Standing on the deck, she raised her hands and shouted at the docks, "Elder sister, relax. Yingying will safely come back. Yingying will also expand the canned food business to the other states. You can rest assured and buy a few large ships to trade for the gold." Meng Qinggu watched her little sister gradually leave, and a helpless smile appeared on her face. It was becoming harder and harder to control this little girl. The Four States Lake was the largest lake in southern Xia. Because it was the opposite of the Four States, the lake was calm and there was no danger for 1,000 miles. It greatly increased the profits of the surrounding ships. After the 5 warships left Central State, they steadily traveled for 7-8 hours. Meng Yingying and Nan Gongyun were making a big fuss on the deck. As night fell, the two of them gradually lost interest, so they returned to the cabin and everyone gathered together to eat canned food. The two of them did not see Chu Tian, and when they asked Yun Yao, they found out that Chu Tian had locked himself up on the ship and was secretly preparing something. That fellow was always mysterious, and the two of them were already used to it. At this time, an old man ran in with a panicked expression. "Marquis! Marquis! I have an important matter of life and death to report." "What matter is so important?" Shen Fengho looked at the old man with a bit of surprise. This person was the guide he had found, the most experienced old captain. "We can't go straight," the old man said with a face of panic. "If we continue on this route, we will enter a dead zone. That is the graveyard of ships, a place ruled by the lake deities. It is the largest forbidden zone of the Four States Lake." Shen Fengho asked the captain of the warship, "How long will it take to go around?" "It will probably take another day." Shen Fengho knit his brows. "Have you heard of this area?" "This? I've heard of it." The captain nodded slightly. "This place seems to be the forbidden zone of the Four States Lake. It is a windless zone and ordinary ships can't move once they enter, so it is called the graveyard of ships." This was a problem for ordinary ships. The 5 warships were very advanced, so why would they be afraid of the windless zone? The old guide knelt on the ground with a plop. "Marquis, we really can't go in. No one has ever been able to come out. Once they go in, they can never return. That is the territory of the lake deities. If we rashly trespass into the territory of the lake deities will punish us." Shen Fengho asked, "What do you mean by the lake deities?" The captain said disdainfully, "Merchants, fishermen, and ordinary troops will go around this area because, in addition to the fact that there is no wind all year round, there is a large group of desperados in the waters. These pirates seem to be very powerful. Southern Xia has sent troops to suppress them several times, but all of them have failed. In the end, they just let it go. As for the lake deities, I think it is pure nonsense. The Four States Lake was so vast that it was like an ocean. It wasn't strange for bandits to occupy this place. This was more or less enough to scare ordinary people. How could Shen Fengho be afraid of these scoundrels? We don't have time to change our route. Shen Fengho ordered, don't change direction, sail straight through. The old guide sat on the ground, it's over. It's over. He was so scared that his face turned ashen and his pants were wet. Chapter 208. The sky gradually brightened, and a few stars could be seen in the pale blue sky. The surface of the lake was covered with a layer of fog, hazy as if it was covered with a silver veil. The morning glow dyed the clouds in the sky, as if it was soaked in blood, showing a faint red color. The 5 warships were moving at a steady speed. About half an hour ago, the 5 ships entered the special water area. There was really no wind at all. If the warships were not equipped with wind-gathering sails, they would not be able to move at all. Meng Yingying was holding a can of food in her hands. She yawned lazily and went to the deck to get some fresh air. She took a deep breath of the cold air. Through the thin fog, she could vaguely see the outline of the island in front of her. Wow! There are so many ships! Meng Yingying exclaimed. A large number of old ships were anchored on the calm lake. Some were merchant ships, some were civilian ships, and some were military ships. They were of different sizes and shapes. Some of them were quite old. Even the ironwood hulls had begun to rot. It was estimated that they had been abandoned for hundreds of years. How did these ships come here? They were probably blown here by a storm, or they might have mistakenly entered this place, or they might have been captured by bandits. In short, ordinary large ships couldn't sail out of the windless area. In the end, all of them were rotting in the water. However, the number was too much. Just from what she could see, there were more than 100 ships. How many abandoned ships were there in this area? From the front, the sound of a horn could be heard. Meng Yingying rubbed her eyes hard, widening her eyes to take a look. When her line of sight passed through the thin fog, she saw 7 or 8 huge black warships neatly lined up in a row, slowly surrounding the warship. These black ships seemed to have a special power device. So they could move normally in the windless area like the warships. Dang! The warship's alarm was sounded. There's a situation. The soldiers rushed out of the cabin. One by one, the cavalry crossbows were arranged in a row. Giant crossbow carts were pushed out. They were ready for battle. As the most advanced warship in southern Xia, the equipment on the warship is certainly not bad. In addition to the ballistae displayed on the deck, there were shooting windows on both sides of the hull. Each ship was equipped with more than 60 heavy-duty ballistae, and the heavy-duty ballistae used were 2 meters long. The bodies of the ballistae were made of high-energy crystals, and their range could reach more than 2,000 meters. This kind of fake arrow was very expensive. Instead of relying on its powerful penetrative power to kill the enemy, it directly activated the energy crystal and destroyed the enemy with a terrifying explosion. An ordinary medium-sized ship could be sunk with just 1 or 2 arrows. Ha ha ha! How dare you! It's been many years since anyone dared to barge into the lake god's territory. Since you dare come in, then have a taste of our giant shark gang's strength. Chu Tian sensed that something was amiss outside, so out of curiosity, he walked to the deck to take a look. Nangong Yun and Meng Yingying were both surprised and happy. Chu Tian, you came at the right time. We've encountered pirates. Pirates? Chu Tian looked at the 10 giant black ships in front of him. This scale is too big. There are 2,000-3,000 pirates here. This Marquis never thought. Shen Fengho's terrifying spirit energy began to gather in his body as he calmly said, my southern summer country actually has this kind of power. Shen Fengho's voice was not loud, but it reached the other side's ears. The giant shark gang had sent out 10 ships. Although they were not as big as the warships, the decks were filled with people, adding up to 2,000-3,000 people. These people were all wearing strange clothes, looking fierce and barbaric, just like uncivilized barbarians. Go. Their ships are not bad. We'll treat it as offering it to the lake god. Everyone go, don't damage the ships. A horn sounded from the pirate ships. Several hundred pirates with weapons on their backs and hooks in their hands jumped onto the deck like dumplings. Everyone was stunned. Why did they jump into the water? Each one of them was wearing such heavy equipment. A scene that made everyone dumbfounded occurred. The pirates did not sink into the water, rather their feet stepped on the surface of the lake. The calm surface of the lake was suddenly filled with waves. They stepped on the blue waves like they were surfing, quickly surrounding the warships. This is a bit interesting, they really are cultivating a strange cultivation technique. Chu Tian knew that the pirates could step on the waves because of a certain cultivation technique. This giant shark gang really did have a good inheritance. Kill. The pirates aggressively stepped on the waves as they tried to hook onto the warships. In the end, the pirates did not even have time to approach before the 5 warships released a rain of arrows. Ah! I've been hit. Quickly protect me. What the pirates encountered was Central State City's most elite army. How were they like the motley crew that they normally plundered? They were instantly shot down. Damn! For the lake god. For the giant shark gang. The pirates roared out and quite a few of them released their source spirits. Their source spirits were all in the shape of giant sharks, increasing their speed by several times. They blocked the arrows and quickly charged forward. These pirates' cultivations were not weak. This was because the ones who could release their source spirits were all in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. These pirates all had 60 to 70% awakened soul realm cultivation, and there was one expert in the peak 9th awakened soul layer in every 10 of them. At this moment, a surge of elemental energy as vast as the sea erupted. Shen Fengho suddenly jumped into the air from the deck. With several leaps, he traveled several thousand meters in the blink of an eye. The sharp sound of breaking through the air seemed like it could tear space itself apart. Wherever Shen Fengho flew, even the mirror-like water was quickly split apart. The pirates all lost their balance and fell into the water. Shen Fengho's arms slashed through the air and an incomparably large blue wind blade flew out from his hands. Like a boomerang, it cut out a trajectory. Pa, 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 pa. 10 crisp cracking sounds rang out. The masts of the pirate ships were cut off one by one. At this time, Shen Fengho's power filled the sky and the surrounding lake water seemed like it was being sucked in by a blue dragon. Giant tornadoes that were 30-40 meters wide and over 100 meters tall instantly formed. The thick masts smashed onto the deck, and the pirates were smashed to the ground. Before they could even react, the pirate ship was blown away by the strong wind that came with it, causing it to sway left and right. This is bad. Quickly retreat. Quickly retreat. The divine wind Marquis' speed was just too fast. He first cut off the masts of the 10 ships and then instantly condensed a giant tornado with boundless destructive might. No. The storm is coming. Quickly. Abandon the ship and jump into the water. The mighty tornado hit the first ship and the terrifying strength flipped it over. It then hit the second ship and flipped over without any accidents. The third ship, the fourth ship, the 10th ship. An entire 10 ships were flipped over in just a few seconds. Countless people cried out pitifully as they were thrown into the sky, falling into the water like rain. There was no wind on the surface of the lake. The waves surged and the scene was a complete mess. Meng Yingying was stunned. Those ships are at least several dozen tons in weight and the Marquis has flipped them all over in an instant. What kind of strength is this? The other generals were also astonished. Even a strong illustrious soul realm expert would only be able to create a large hole with a full force attack. However, Shen Fengho had used his own strength to flip over 10 ships that weighed several dozen tons. What kind of strength was this? This god was indeed the #1 person in Central State. That terrifying storm was still raging. Even if they were this far away, Chu Tian's group could still feel the surging waves. Finally, wherever the blue storm passed, all the ships were dismembered. They were broken into countless pieces and the pirates were forced to flee. Meng Yingying said, "It seems like these fellows are going to drown." Chu Tian gave a slight nod, but before he could say anything, he suddenly noticed a strange phenomenon. Several ships had been torn to pieces and countless pieces of wood were still floating on the water. Logically speaking, a person in the water would instinctively look for something to float on, especially in this kind of turbulent environment. Chu Tian was very surprised. The pirates did not grab onto anything to survive, rather they all jumped into the water. The people on the ships also threw away their weapons and jumped into the water. The pirates that fell into the water all disappeared without a trace. There were several thousand people. They had all jumped into the water and disappeared. The blood that flowed out from the dead pirates was actually a blue-purple color, completely different from normal people's blood. Shen Fenghe also noticed this strange phenomenon, so he gradually stopped the storm. However, before he could take a closer look, a terrifying roar came from the front. "Which expert dares to mess with my giant shark gang's territory? Aren't you afraid of angering the lake gods?" A sound wave rolled out. It was deep and resonant, almost covering the sound of the waves. Chen Bingyu was not interested, but she opened her eyes at this moment and a trace of confusion flashed in her eyes. There is a true soul expert among these pirates. It can't be. Everyone else was shocked. There were only a few true soul experts in Central State. If they really were true soul experts, why would they be willing to be pirates? No matter where they went in southern Xia, they would be respected by tens of thousands of people. A strong man stepped on the waves, carrying a trident on his back. His hair was thick and messy, his face was covered in a beard, and his chest was open. It was covered in blue tattoos and he was dressed like a barbarian. "Fifth Master. Fifth Master is here to save us." The moment the true soul expert arrived, the pirates that had disappeared began to pop their heads out of the water. These fellows had not drowned, but they were all hiding in the water. Nangong Yun revealed a look of shock. "I thought they had all drowned, I never thought that they would still be alive. But why haven't they come out to breathe for so long?" Feng Kaidai also knit her brows. Could it be that the giant shark gang cultivates the turtle breathing technique? That's why they haven't breathed for a long time. It's not their cultivation technique, it's the pirates themselves that have a problem. Chu Tian finally saw some clues and his lips curled into a smile. No wonder they could be so arrogant in the Four States Lake for so many years without being exterminated. It seems like things have become interesting now. Nangong, help me prepare some things, I need to verify a few things. If it's like I think, then these fellows are very valuable. Chapter 209. Wherever the large bearded man went, the waves would surge. If one looked carefully, they would find that the large bearded man was standing on a giant shark. The shark was completely made of water energy, so it was extremely fast in the water. The 10 large ships were already scrapped and over 1,000 members fell into the water, with heavy casualties. The large bearded man had a dark expression as he looked up. There was an elegant green-robed middle-aged man standing on a small tornado. His long sleeves fluttered in the wind as he floated in the air. He was like a powerful god, but he could not see through his strength at all. Although he didn't know who he was, he knew that he was not a normal person. "Your Excellency has trespassed into the lake god's forbidden area and injured many of our disciples." The large bearded man coldly said, "Are you not planning on giving the giant shark gang an explanation?" "Explanation?" Shen Fenghe gave a calm smile. Wind surged in all directions and the might of the heavens shook everyone. The Four States Lake is under the control of the Southern Summer King, so this marquis has nothing to say about you establishing a gang here. However, you've been plundering merchant caravans all year round, even going ashore to kill and pillage. Do you really think there is no one left in Southern Summer? You You are one of the southern summer 8 marquises. To be able to control the wind, you must be Central State's Shin Feng Ho. The large bearded man was completely stunned. Shin Feng Ho was a famous character in southern summer. The large bearded man did not have any intent to fight. The giant shark in the water suddenly turned around, creating a giant wave as it quickly escaped. Fifth Master. The giant shark gang members were all stunned. The Fifth Master's divine skills were unrivaled, but he was running without even fighting. Since you're here, then stay and drink a cup of tea with this marquis. Shin Feng Ho instantly caught up and stood in front of the large bearded man. His right hand turned into a giant blue hand that reached out to grab the large bearded man. I'll stake it all with you. The large bearded man pulled out his trident and released the power of his source spirit, but he did not have time to attack. Shin Feng Ho broke the trident with a single palm from afar, and the violent force sent the large bearded man flying several dozen meters, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blue and purple blood. Shin Feng Ho stood with his hands behind his back, as if he was at ease. Seventh awakened soul layer, but you've only just reached the true soul realm? How dare you look down on me? The large bearded man gave an angry roar and released his source spirit, which was a giant silver shark. The large bearded man's hands moved and the giant silver shark source spirit entered the lake, pouring all of the large bearded man's spirit energy into the lake. The surrounding waters began to boil. Several hundred sharks broke out of the water. Each one was 3-4 meters long and their bodies were made of water energy. They were like tens of thousands of arrows flying out, flying in the air like they had wings. Each one was filled with a fierce strength that could swallow an awakened soul cultivator with a single bite. I'll show you the power that the lake god has bestowed upon us. Countless sharks ferociously pounced towards Shin Feng Ho. Shin Feng Ho revealed a look of surprise. He had not expected this big bearded man to be stronger than he had imagined. With just this move, a normal true soul realm expert would not be able to block it. But dealing with an expert on the level of one of the southern summer 8 marquises? The difference was too great. Wind and Cloud Sword Song. Countless sword chi wind blades appeared around Shin Feng Ho, falling down like a storm. Each giant shark was hit 2-3 times and instantly exploded, turning into water droplets. It's not over yet. The large bearded man angrily roared, Lake God. Give me strength. The countless droplets of water stopped in the air and condensed into a giant shark. This giant shark was made of energy, but it was like a living being. That thick silver-white skin had lines that could be seen as it angrily charged at Shin Feng Ho. Shin Feng Ho flicked his finger. A giant sword chi swept out. The giant shark with a terrifying momentum was cut in half and the large bearded man was hit by the shockwave. He bounced off the water like he was skipping, instantly flying several dozen meters away. So strong. Truly worthy of being one of the southern summer 8 marquises. The giant shark gang will remember this grudge. Just wait for me. The large bearded man wanted to dive into the water, trying to escape through the lake. How could it be that easy? Shin Feng Ho threw a small tornado into the lake and the entire lake was stirred up, forming a giant whirlpool. Several dozen meters of the lake was sucked into the air, including the large bearded man's figure. Shin Feng Ho grabbed out and the large bearded man was sucked out. Finally he was choked by Shin Feng Ho. Let me go. The large bearded man was a true soul realm expert, but in Shin Feng Ho's hands, he was like a helpless little chicken. Shin Feng Ho pointed at the large bearded man a few times, using his spirit energy to seal the large bearded man's cultivation. This person's cultivation and strength were not weak, so he was definitely a top-level leader. Capturing him alive was more useful. The 5th master has been captured. This is bad, quickly tell the other masters. The pirates all cried out in alarm. They all jumped into the lake and disappeared in a short while. Shin Feng Ho had no interest in these small fries. He flew into the air and returned to the ship, throwing the large bearded man onto the deck. The others were all deeply shocked. Everyone already knew that Shen Fengho's cultivation was very high and his strength was very strong, but they never thought he would be this terrifying. This battle had opened everyone's eyes. The large bearded man revealed a look of fear. If you dare harm a single hair on me, the giant shark gang will not let you off. Are the Southern Summer 8 Marquises that amazing? If you disturb Big Brother and Second Brother, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The large bearded man was a true soul realm expert. But he had just reached the 7th awakened soul layer. So not to mention comparing him to Shen Fengho, he was even weaker than Chen Bingyu. But from his words, could it be that there was someone stronger than him in the giant shark gang? Nangong Yun couldn't help asking, then what do you mean Big Brother and Second Brother are stronger than you? Nonsense. The large bearded man seemed very confident. Of the 100,000 members of the giant shark gang, I am only ranked 5th. Big Brother, Second Brother, Third Brother, and Fourth Brother are all above me. You've invaded the lake god's forbidden area and injured the lake god's servant. Once the lake god becomes angry, you can only wait to die. 100,000 members. There were at least 5 true soul realm experts. Nangong Yun and the others were all stunned. Shen Fengho knit his brows and his eyes revealed a bit of displeasure. This fellow was still this arrogant after being captured. He probably wouldn't cooperate with the interrogation, so he might as well kill him with a single palm. But thinking about it, what if this fellow wasn't lying? If the giant shark gang really had 100,000 members and at least 5 true soul realm experts, it would be an incomparably large sect. Shen Fengho was not afraid of them. The problem was that he had a mission to complete and did not have time to waste here. If there was a conflict with the giant shark gang, it would not be easy to escape from these annoying fellows. Peng, peng. Several explosions came from the bottom of the warships. Several soldiers shouted in panic, Marquis, this is bad. The bottom of the ship has been broken. Our ship is about to sink. What? This warship was the fastest and most advanced in Southern Xia. If the bottom of the ship was broken and the warship sank, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not to mention how the 1,000 soldiers would escape, Central State would fail the ruler's orders, which was a very serious matter. Marquis. There are many monsters in front of us. Everyone looked into the distance and saw several incomparably large tortoises slowly swimming across the lake. Each tortoise had over 100 people on its back and there were even large crossbows prepared. A thin middle-aged man held a saber and angrily shouted, "Let go of Fifth Brother. Otherwise you'll all be buried in the stomachs of the fish." The surrounding water began to flow faster. Let go of the Fifth Master. Let go of the Fifth Master. Several thousand giant shark gang members revealed their heads and raised their weapons as they shouted, "Let them taste the anger of the lake god." It's over, it's over. Meng Yingying's face turned white. Why are there so many pirates? We've poked the hornet's nest. Ha, 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 ha. The large bearded man began to laugh. This is the result of offending the lake god. Seeking death. Shen Fengho's eyes flashed with a cold killing intent. No one had ever dared to threaten him like this before. Since it was like this, he would kill one to warn 100. Marquis, please wait. Chu Tian walked in front of Shen Fengho and stopped Shen Fengho from killing the Fifth Master. The most important thing right now is to repel the pirates. Let me take care of this person. Shen Fengho's cultivation was deep and immeasurable. Even if the giant shark gang's leaders came, they might not be able to beat him. However, this was the giant shark gang's territory. How could they fight as they pleased? The giant shark gang said they had over 100,000 people. From the current situation, it was very likely this was true. These fellows seemed to be very proficient in water and could control water-type demon beasts. Digging into the bottom of the boat and using all kinds of sneak attacks, no one could do anything about it. Shen Fengho was not here to suppress the pirates, so if he caused a lot of trouble, he would not be able to finish the rest of the journey. These pirates would definitely cause trouble for him. Wouldn't that be a big problem? The calm martial ruler's anger was not small. Alright, I'll leave it to you. Shen Fengho knew that Chu Tian had many tricks up his sleeves and was anxious to repel the pirates, so he did not care about the fifth master. Chen Bingyu, give me a hand. Chen Bingyu had a bit of friendship with Shen Fengho, so she did not reject him. Without saying a word, she jumped into the lake. In that instant, a cold energy was released. The surface of the lake froze and the pirates that were destroying the boat were frozen in time. The divine wind Marquis also made his move, filling the sky with wind blades and wind blades. With these two experts working together, these pirates were not a problem. Chu Tian walked in front of the large bearded gang leader. Let us have a chat now. Brat, who do you think you are? Do you have the qualifications to talk to father? The large bearded man angrily glared at Chu Tian. If you have the skills, then kill father. My 100,000 brothers will take revenge for me. You're already a captive and you're still this arrogant. Nangong Yun charged forward and kicked him. I think this fellow needs a beating. Let me beat him up. I've never beaten a true soul realm cultivator before. Nangong, don't cause trouble. Chu Tian waved his hand at Nangong Yun. Have you prepared the things I wanted you to prepare? Nangong Yun placed a large bucket of lake water in front of Chu Tian. Strange, what do you want me to do with this water? Chu Tian lifted the fifth master up and shoved his head into the bucket. What are you doing? Chu Tian said to the others, come and see for yourselves. Meng Yingying was the first to come over and she couldn't help being shocked. Aya, this is bad. There are gills behind his ears. Everyone did not believe it, but when they saw it, they were all stunned by this strange scene. Behind the large bearded man's ears, there really were gills that were opening and closing as they breathed. How could gills grow on a human's body? Monsters. These fellows are not humans at all. The soldiers all felt a trace of fear in their hearts. Lake God, there really is a lake god. The old guide that Shen Fengho invited trembled in fear as he muttered, these people are the lake god's servants, so they have this kind of ability. We've caused a great disaster. The lake god will definitely be enraged. Chapter 210. When Chu Tian lifted the large bearded man out of the bucket, the gill slits behind the large bearded man's ears slowly disappeared. Everyone was shocked. Why did they have this kind of ability? This was definitely not the effect of a cultivation technique. I thought it was very strange. The pirates could hide underwater for this long and they could even dive into our boat without us noticing. Nangong Yun's eyes popped out as she shouted at the large bearded man, quickly tell me, what kind of demons are you? Tell us the truth right now. Demons? Ignorant fools. The large bearded man gave a few loud laughs and said with a proud face, this is an innate gift from the lake gods, how could these mortals understand? In these waters, there is no one that dares to go against the giant shark gang. Even the southern summer kingdom can't do anything to us, so you'll have to pay the price for provoking the giant shark gang. After saying this, he revealed a look of disdain. If you want to kill them, do as you please. These pirates were like fish in the water of the Four States Lake. Even if the southern summer kingdom sent an army, it would be hard to catch them all. Once the giant shark gang retaliated, the Four States Lake would not be able to travel, which would be a large loss to the southern summer kingdom. A gift from the lake gods. While everyone was feeling troubled, only Chu Tian said with a taunting face, from what I see, it's not an innate gift, it's more suitable to call it a curse. Curse? The lake god's curse. The large bearded man's face turned red as he angrily shouted, you dare insult the great lake gods. Stop pretending. What lake gods? Something that doesn't exist. Chu Tian seemed like he had already seen through everything, you only opened a hidden treasure at the bottom of the lake and obtained an ancient inheritance. However, what you didn't expect was that after obtaining this hidden treasure, you would have to pay such a high price. Am I right? Nonsense. The large bearded man angrily shouted, the giant shark gang has obtained the lake god's blessing and now has over 100,000 members. The several thousand miles of the four states lake are all our territory. That's right, you've obtained the sea race's ability and can breathe underwater. The large four states lake is yours to roam. But once you leave the four states lake, can you still be as free as you are now? Chu Tian did not give the large bearded man a chance to speak and directly cut him off. The giant shark gang has over 100,000 members and many true soul experts. Even in southern Xia, they are considered a first-rate power. But after all these years, the giant shark gang has been robbing the four states lake for a living, not daring to come ashore to steal territory, so they don't have much influence. Can you tell me why? The fifth sect master spat. Of course you won't say that it's because the giant shark gang can't leave the four states lake for a long time, right? Meng Yingying was like a curious baby, her face full of doubt. Why can't they live on the surface? Because the giant shark gang opened the sea race's inheritance treasure, they obtained the sea race's inheritance. How could humans accept the inheritance of the sea race? So, forcefully taking the inheritance will result in a mutation and they will be cursed by the ruins. As long as they leave the four states lake for a while, they will wither and die. Other than that, they will become more dependent on this power and their bodies will gradually change. For example, gills will appear, scales will grow, and webbing will appear on their hands and feet. They will slowly turn from humans into the sea race, finally being rejected by their bodies and dying. The large bearded man went from disdain to anger, and finally to being completely stunned. Why? This was the giant shark gang's secret. How did this brat know? It was very strange and simply an unbelievable matter. But from the large bearded man's expression, could it be true? Could there really be such a strange ruin? Of course there was. Chu Tian had seen it many times in the ancient book. When he understood the giant shark gang's power and scale, Chu Tian felt it was very strange. These sects clearly had great strength, so why didn't Shen Fengho understand them? Did he say they were indifferent to fame and wealth and were above the mortal world? Then how could they be thieves? Killing and pillaging, harming the people. With this kind of power and scale, what was wrong with doing other things? Then, Chu Tian saw Shen Fengho knock the giant shark gang members into the water. They were actually able to swim through the water like fish, and with the special blue and purple blood, Chu Tian was sure that their bodies had undergone some kind of mutation. In this era, the old civilization and the old civilization were all over the place. Ancient ruins were everywhere. Chu Tian's guess was 80% to 90% accurate, and this experiment with the large bearded man was to verify his guess. When he saw the gills on the large bearded man's body, which was a typical characteristic of the sea race, Chu Tian was 100% sure. Who are you? Who I am isn't important. Chu Tian said to the large bearded man, the important thing is that I can help you get rid of this curse. Impossible. The large bearded man's body trembled as he revealed a face of disbelief. Then he angrily roared, "It's been 20 years. No one can escape. Don't think you can trick me like this. Large bearded man, you're in luck." Meng Yingying walked over and said, Chu Tian is the founder of Miracle Commerce, so if he says he can do it, then he can. Miracle Commerce is Chu Tian. Miracle Commerce did not have a shipping business, so many merchants saw this business opportunity. They bought large amounts of Miracle Commerce's goods and transported them to other states to sell at a high price. Several of the ships were intercepted by the giant shark gang, and one of them was even done by the large bearded man, so he had a bit of understanding towards Miracle Commerce. This was clearly a little brat who hadn't even grown hair, but he was actually the founder of Miracle Commerce. But so what if he was the founder of Miracle Commerce? The giant shark gang benefited from the inheritance, but they were also restricted by it. This inheritance made them stronger, but it also made them lose their freedom. There were gains and losses, so there was no way around it. You don't believe me? Chu Tian took out a light red liquid from the large gourd's storage space. Nangong, feed it to him. Nan Gongyun opened the large bearded man's mouth and poured the light red liquid into the large bearded man's mouth. The large bearded man's body curled up like a shrimp as he painfully twitched on the ground. Large amounts of light red blood appeared on the surface of his body. Hot. Hot. So hot. Damn, what did you give me to drink? The large bearded man could clearly feel that his originally cold blood, under the influence of this strange medicine, it was slowly becoming warm again. The power that was deep in his blood was slowly disappearing. How was this possible? Chu Tian ordered, cut open his hand and see what happens. Nan Gongyun pulled out her dagger and cut the big bearded man's palm. Blood dripped into the wooden barrel, and the color of the blood was no longer a strange purplish blue, but a purplish red. There was not much difference between the blood of a normal human. The large bearded man stared at the blood in a daze and did not come back to his senses for a long time. In the 20 years since the giant shark gang was established, no one had ever escaped this curse. This young man took out a strange medicine. It actually removed most of the curse's power. You still have the ability to breathe underwater. Chu Tian revealed a pained expression. That was a diluted spiritual god's blood that he did not even have time to use. This medicine has already removed all restrictions. From now on, you are free. The large bearded man was completely stunned. He was finally convinced. If this person could remove the restrictions on the giant shark gang and give freedom to the 100,000 members of the giant shark gang, then he would truly be the giant shark gang's parent. The large bearded man kneeled down. Mister, save us. Chu Tian softly said, have your people leave. Yes. Yes. The large bearded man took out a cornet and forcefully blew it a few times. There were hundreds of people around him and each person was hiding in the water with gills growing out of their ears. Fifth Master. Fifth Master, don't panic. We're here to save you. All of you scram for me. The large bearded man anxiously roared out. The giant shark gang had been tortured for 20 years and now a savior had appeared. If they didn't hold on to him, would they ever have another chance? Quickly inform the headmaster to welcome the guests. The giant shark gang members were all stunned. Guests. The giant shark gang never allowed outsiders to enter the water because that was an offense to the Great Lake gods. The current fifth master's actions were very strange. The large bearded man angrily roared, are you all deaf? Why aren't you scramming back? Yes. Yes. The giant shark gang members all sank into the water and the several thousand members all left. Shen Fengho and Chen Bingyu were very surprised. When they defeated the skinny middle-aged man and returned to the deck, they saw the large bearded man respectfully standing in front of Chu Tian and sincerely saying, I ask Mr. to help the giant shark gang. In just a few minutes, this fellow had already changed. I can indeed help you restrain the corrosion of the sea race bloodline. Chu Tian paused for a bit before saying, however, this will not be a small price for me. Tell me, why do you think I should help you? That's right. Meng Yingying said from the side, these people are definitely bad people. We have no obligation to help a group of villains. Otherwise, if they return to normal, it's unknown how many people will suffer. Shen Fengho also coldly said, the giant shark gang has committed many crimes over the years. Once Thunder State's matter is over, this marquis will unite the 4 states to destroy them. How can we allow them to continue being so rampant? The large bearded man quickly said, we have no choice. Marquis, there is no need to be anxious. Chu Tian confirmed the giant shark gang's inheritance, so he naturally understood what was going on with them. He said to the large bearded man, how about this, I'll personally go to your base and discuss the conditions. What do you think? Of course you can. Brother Chu. Feng Kaidai stood up, these pirates are extremely evil, you are sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Shen Fengho did not recommend Chu Tian take this risk. Chen Bingyu will protect you and you will be responsible for supporting us from the outside. Chu Tian said in a confident voice, "Relax, I can take care of this matter." There were too many members of the giant shark gang. If they did not think of a way to deal with them, it would be hard for them to pass through. Shen Fengho saw that Chu Tian was calm as if he already had a card up his sleeve, so he did not stop him. With Shen Fengho personally threatening them, they would not dare do anything. Chu Tian brought Chen Bingyu and the captive old Fifth Yu, riding a small boat to the giant shark gang's headquarters. Chapter 211. There was a large archipelago in the center of the Four States Lake. The archipelago was not that big and it was like a torn piece of paper. It was thrown into the water in a disorderly manner, covering an area of over 100 miles. The largest island was around the same size as Central State City. Because it was shaped like a skull, it was named Skull Island. Skull Island was the core headquarters of the giant shark gang. Chu Tian, Chen Bingyu, and Old Fifth Yu were sitting in a small boat, slowly moving through the archipelago. Every island had traces of human activity, such as simple and crude constructions, dried fish, prawns, crabs, and other food. Although the giant shark gang was strong, they did not have any source of income. Adding in the large number of people, their days were tight. It was a good thing that the Four States Lake was rich in seafood, so a trivial 100,000 people wouldn't die. The gang relied on seafood to survive, and if they couldn't, they would rob merchant ships to earn some extra money, barely managing to survive. The small boat arrived at Skull Island. Old Fifth Yu personally jumped into the water because the giant shark gang did not have a dock. He used his bare hands to pull the boat to shore. "You two, please come with me." Chu Tian walked in front with Chen Bingyu behind him. The two of them first saw a giant gate made of white stone, and behind the gate was a stone-paved path that led to the middle of the island. There was a small square where a few huge and majestic statues of the lake gods stood. Over the years, the giant shark gang had been very xenophobic. No one had ever entered the archipelago, not to mention the core Skull Island. So, when Chu Tian came, he immediately attracted the attention of the people on the island. They all raised their weapons and surrounded him. "The fifth master is back. I was wondering why the fifth master was captured." "Fifth sect master, are these two people the sacrificial offerings for the lake god?" The giant shark gang members were dressed very strangely. They used shark skin to make boots, vests, and hats. Their clothes were all tattered, making them look like fishermen who had escaped to an island. Chen Bingyu was a bit confused seeing this. Although they had extraordinary strength, they lived like beggars. This was very rare in southern Xia. Among the gang members, there were old people, women, and even children. The giant shark gang had only been around 20 years ago, so it was impossible for them to reach this level. Most of the members had joined later. As for how they joined, there was no need to guess. When the giant shark gang attacked the ships and villages, they would always take away the people along with the goods. The reason why the giant shark gang liked to take captives was to prevent them from complaining and also to increase the giant shark gang's population. These captives would forcefully strengthen the whale gang's inheritance, bestowing them with the sea race's innate talent and bloodline. They would also be bound by the curse, unable to leave the Four States Lake. In the end, he had no choice but to join the giant shark gang. Escape? That was impossible. Once the giant shark gang members came ashore, they would wither for a day or two before dying. Scram! Get lost! Old Fifth Yu dismissed the crowd that was watching and then brought Chu Tian to the middle of the mountain. They walked into a damp cave. This cave was where the true high-level members of the giant shark gang lived, and only branch lords and above had the qualifications to enter. Old Five. Why did you come back? A skinny middle-aged man holding two blades was healing inside. When he saw Old Fifth Yu return, he immediately revealed a look of pleasant surprise. "Those damn people from the Central State let you go? They didn't do anything to you, right?" Old Fifth Yu cupped his hands. "Many thanks for Fourth Brother's help, I'm fine." Old Fifth. Old Fifth, you did not even finish before a hoarse and strict voice came from the dark cave. How could you bring an outsider here? Have you forgotten the rules? Chu Tian looked in the direction of the abyss. In the depths of the dark and damp cave, there was a natural pool that suddenly rippled. A stooped figure slowly rose from the water. His entire body was wet and dripping with water. A frightening and cold aura suddenly filled the entire cave, making people shudder. Big brother. Please listen to my explanation. Old Fifth Yu respectfully cupped his hands. This central state person can break the curse on us for many years. Bold. Old Fifth. You dare slander the lake gods. A burly man with gray hair walked out and roared furiously. Do you know what you're doing? Old Fifth Yu anxiously said, Second brother, I didn't. Lake gods. Ha, 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 ha. Chu Tian was too lazy to listen to his brother's argument. He immediately laughed a few times, and his clear and melodious voice echoed in the cave. In order to rule this archipelago, to rule your 100,000 gang members, you made up a so-called lake god for people to worship? The most laughable thing is that the person who made up this lie has even tricked himself. How could there be a lake god? The giant shark gang was just a special sect. The giant shark gang wanted to better control the sect, so they made up a mysterious lake god. It was to control the minds of the gang members, making them believe in the existence of the lake god and make them work for them. Otherwise, this kind of restriction was hard to understand, and it was hard to find a reasonable explanation. The gray-haired man angrily said, insulting the lake gods. Seeking death. We should take him as a sacrifice to the lake gods. Insulting the lake gods, die. Kill him. The surrounding giant shark gang high-level members were filled with rage as a sharp and terrifying killing intent shrouded them. Qin Bingyu's brows knit together. The cave was too dark and there was no light, so she couldn't see clearly. However, from the aura and killing intent, the giant shark gang had quite a few experts, which far surpassed her imagination. Chu Tian's expression did not change as he calmly said, If my guesses aren't wrong, the sea race's treasure you obtained was an ancient altar used to strengthen the sea race's bloodline. The sea race used sacrificial offerings on the altar to stimulate the hidden potential of their bloodline. This is a secret treasure of a certain kind of sea race, but you guys are ignorant enough to occupy it and use it to increase your own strength. However, you do not know that a human body can withstand the sea race's sacrifice. If you forcefully make this sacrifice, it will cause a mutation in your human bloodline, slowly turning you into the sea race. The gills are only the first changes. Once this mutation begins, there is no way to stop it. You will not be able to leave the water and you will not be able to stop the sacrifice. Otherwise, in less than a day, your body will crack and you will die from weakness. Of course, you can continue to make sacrifices to keep the sea race's bloodline active. Doing this will make the sea race's bloodline stronger and stronger. Your bodies will also have more and more characteristics of the sea race. You will become a monster that is neither human nor fish. When your human bloodline cannot suppress your foreign bloodline, you will die from the rejection of your bloodline. Whether you give up the sacrifice or continue the sacrifice, the result will be death. Am I right? These words were powerful and resounded throughout the cave. It caused the giant shark gang's arrogance to drop and everyone turned silent. Cool. The white-haired old man standing in the pool slowly stood up and said in a cold and hoarse voice, Who is your excellency? I don't dare, this one is Chu Tian. The white-haired old man was very tall, but he was now very thin. He was wearing an ancient fishman mask and he was holding a fish bone staff in his hand. Chu Tian did not even finish speaking. The white-haired old man gently flicked his finger and a drop of water flew at Chu Tian. So fast. Chu Tian did not have time to dodge before the drop of water landed in front of him. It instantly bloomed and turned into a giant ball of water that wrapped around Chu Tian. A strong force lifted Chu Tian into the air. This ball of water looked thin, but it was actually very strong. With Chu Tian's current cultivation base, he could not break it. The white-haired old man's strange blue eyes released a terrifying killing intent. You think that with Shin Feng Ho backing you, you can act recklessly in my giant shark gang? Even if Shin Feng Ho personally came, this old man would still fight him. Not to mention a little brat like you. Chen Bingyu's eyes revealed a fierce look. Her right palm released a terrifying cold chi as it chopped at the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man shot out another drop of water at Chen Bingyu. Chen Bingyu knit his brows and released a white light that instantly froze the drop of water. Humph! The white-haired old man gave a cold snort. The ice bead began to shatter and a strong energy burst out, instantly filling every corner of the cave, making it hard for the others to stand. The faces of the giant shark gang's high-level members fell. This woman's cultivation base was very high. Although it was a bit lacking compared to the leader, it was not below the second leader. Chen Bingyu was forced back several steps and her face slightly sunk. This old monster was stronger than she imagined, she was not his match. The white-haired old man was also shocked. This woman was not old and her cultivation base was only a bit weaker than his. Adding in the fact that one of the 8 marquises, Shin Feng Ho, was eyeing him like a tiger, the people that came to the giant shark gang this time were not simple. Old Fifth Yu was afraid that something would happen. Big brother, stop. You can't kill him. Chu Tian was locked in the water prison. Although he could not move, he did not panic at all because the white-haired old man did not have any killing intent. The giant shark gang's boss Yu is truly strong, even Chen Bingyu is slightly inferior to him. Chu Tian spoke in a leisurely manner, as if he wasn't a prisoner at all. However, you've received the deepest inheritance from the sea race. If I haven't guessed wrong, your body has already started to mutate. Your feet have grown webs, your body has grown fish scales, and even the bones in your body have changed. The giant shark gang members were all stunned. The leader had not taken off his mask in many years and he was usually dressed up. Could his body have really changed? The white-haired old man was silent. I'm sure that you won't live past half a year. Chu Tian loudly shouted, but if you die, then you die. Do you want to drag the entire giant shark gang and the brothers that fought with you to the grave? Or, do you want to see your brothers who have gone through fire and water with you turn into monsters like you? The white-haired old man's body trembled. Big brother. Old Fifth Yu quickly walked forward. Mr. Chu Tian is really here to help us. The curse on my body has already been completely removed. If you don't believe me, you can take a look. The white-haired old man suddenly grabbed Old Fifth Yu's wrist. That pair of strange blue eyes became more and more serious. It was followed by shock and amazement before finally revealing a look of wild joy. Was it really removed? Chapter 212. Boss Yu couldn't help slightly trembling. This was simply unbelievable, it was like a dream. Boss Yu was the biggest beneficiary of the treasure. It allowed a normal awakened soul cultivator to reach the 9th awakened soul layer without any resources. If they fought in the water, even if it was a super expert on the level of the Southern Summer 8 marquises, Boss Yu was confident he could fight them. Boss Yu was also the biggest victim of the treasure. Because he had been corroded by the curse, Boss Yu's condition was much worse than the normal gang members. He had not stepped on land for 5 years and even on Skull Island, he had been soaking in the pool all day, otherwise his body would quickly wither and he would be in danger in around 10 hours. The most terrifying thing was that Boss Yu's body had changed. His temperament and habits had all been affected. Not only had he become like a human or a ghost, he had been subjected to unimaginable cruel torture. He could only be maintained with large amounts of painkillers and the speed of the change was increasing. Perhaps his life would be in danger soon. Boss Yu did not have any hope. Who would have thought that a miracle would happen at this time? Boss Yu held Old Fifth's hand. You're really free. Old Fifth Yu's eyes were filled with tears as he forcefully nodded. This mister really has a way. The water prison instantly shattered and Chu Tian regained his freedom, falling back to the ground. Shin Yenyu wanted to help him up, but Chu Tian waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. The white-haired old man's blue eyes stared at him. You can really help us. Chu Tian revealed a confident smile. This kind of mutation is caused by a special curse. I just happen to have a method that can break any kind of curse, even one that goes deep into one's blood and bones. Although I don't dare say that no one on the continent besides me can break it, in a place like southern Xia, you won't be able to find a second one. The 5 you brothers revealed looks of disbelief. The white-haired old man's breathing became rushed and he shouted in a hoarse voice, Mister's Grace. Please save the giant shark gang. There is no free lunch in this world. It's just like how you coveted the sea race's power and suffered the backlash of the sea race. Chu Tian's eyes turned sharp as he looked over the high-level members of the giant shark gang. He said with an expressionless face, I can break your bloodline curse, but I will have to pay a high price. I have no relationship with you, so I have no obligation to save you. What he meant was, you want me to save you. Not bad. Show some sincerity first. The white-haired old man was silent for a few seconds before saying in a hoarse voice, the giant shark gang is poor and has no money. The giant shark gang's 100,000 members are our wealth. Chu Tian directly said, you want me to save you? Sure. But I want the giant shark gang to work for me. As soon as these words came out, everyone was enraged. Greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Aren't you afraid of choking? The giant shark gang had developed for over 20 years and finally had over 100,000 members. There were 5 true Soul Realm experts and several illustrious Soul Realm experts, with 8-9 of them reaching the peak of the illustrious Soul Realm. This brat wanted to swallow such a strong force in one gulp. That was simply a dream. Not to mention whether he had the ability or not, the giant shark gang would not agree. The giant shark gang was still a gang and a different kind of sect. They had their own teachings and inheritances, so they still had their basic dignity. Even if you remove the restriction, we will fall into a new restriction. Don't you think your request is a bit too high? The white-haired old man said in a low voice, the giant shark gang has its own pride, we will not serve anyone. That's right. This brat has wild ambitions, he clearly wants to swallow our giant shark gang. Even if our giant shark gang can't move freely on land, we can at least move freely on the 4 states lake. Why should we become a pawn for a brat? In the end, it was because Chu Tian was too young. The giant shark gang had as many experts as clouds, so how could they submit to him? The giant shark gang members were filled with indignation, but they did not find it strange at all. Gangs and sects cared about seniority. Now that a young brat had come and wanted the giant shark gang to submit to him, wasn't this just a fantasy? Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. Chu Tian revealed a calm smile, first listen to what I have to say. Boss Yu said in a hoarse voice, no matter what conditions you add, the giant shark gang will not become a tool. You work for me, but you don't have to be loyal to me. Chu Tian emphasized, we have a cooperative relationship, not a subordinate relationship. Do you understand what I'm saying? Chu Tian knew his own limits. Miracle Commerce did not have the ability to swallow the giant shark gang. The gray-haired second old Yu asked, don't try to change the concept. Is there a difference between the two? You're making a huge mistake by thinking like this. Chu Tian said to second old Yu in a sharp voice, a cooperative relationship is a parallel relationship, so there is no superior or inferior relationship. The giant shark gang will work for Miracle Commerce, so the giant shark gang will receive a proper reward. That's all, how could there be anything else? Third old Yu asked, then what can your Miracle Commerce give us? Chu Tian looked right into third old Yu's eyes, that depends on what you lack the most. Money. Reputation. The giant shark gang members looked at each other in blank dismay. The giant shark gang was indeed very poor and they had always been pirates, this was not something that could be easily changed. Miracle Commerce will directly invest 100 million gold coins into the giant shark gang. Opening with 100 million gold coins, this kind of rich and overbearing attitude was enough to shock the normal gang members. Fourth, Old Yu said in a dissatisfied voice, the giant shark gang has 100,000 people, 100 million gold coins is not enough. That's right. Chu Tian revealed a faint smile, then 200 million gold coins. Everyone was silent. This brat was too rich. Still not enough. Then 400 million. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. This brat did not even blink and had actually doubled it. With the giant shark gang's current situation, 400 million gold coins is enough to solve our urgent problems. Chu Tian finally said, but as long as you are willing to cooperate with me, I am willing to represent Miracle Commerce and invest 1 billion gold coins into the giant shark gang in half a year. What? Increase it to 1 billion. Even if it was the Central State 4 great families, this would be the sum of several years of income. The whale gang was knocked dizzy by the Golden Club. Boss Yu was also deeply shaken. Are you serious? Father has money. Chu Tian said in a confident voice, if I can say I can do it. We can find Shen Fengho to notarize a contract. If Miracle Commerce doesn't give us enough gold coins in half a year, it will be considered an alliance with Miracle Commerce. The giant shark gang will regain their independence and the initial fee will be considered as a breach of contract. This was just a group of bandits. Their main source of income came from robbing merchant ships and occasionally robbing villages and towns. How much income could they make? The resources they obtained not only needed to be used as sacrifices, but they also needed to satisfy their own needs, so they were very tight on money. 1 billion gold coins. This was enough to make the giant shark gang lose their way. If Miracle Commerce could do it, then 95% of the middle and lower class members would not have any objections. Miracle Commerce is not only investing 1 billion gold coins into the giant shark gang, we will also help the giant shark gang transform and provide you with a suitable way to make a living. Of course, we will need 50% of the giant shark gang's shares. We will only receive dividends in the future, but we will not interfere with the management. In terms of internal affairs, you will be completely independent. Good brat, this giant was treating the giant shark gang as an investment. Could the giant shark gang really create this much value? Wasn't he afraid that this large investment would be wasted? Finally, if you are willing to work in Miracle Commerce, we will give you a suitable annual salary. Chu Tian paused before saying, I promise that a true soul realm cultivator's annual salary will not be lower than 50 million gold coins. The giant shark gang was knocked unconscious once again. Each of Chu Tian's words seemed to be repeating a message. Father has money, so follow father and you will be able to eat well. From the expressions of these country bumpkins, Chu Tian knew that he had completely fooled them. Actually, Miracle Commerce's finances were a bit tight and they couldn't take out 1 billion gold coins, but Miracle Commerce was currently in a rapid growth stage, so they had to brace themselves to buy this power. This was a very meaningful and valuable investment. The giant shark gang itself was very strong. This was a very strong force. Just the giant shark gang increasing Miracle Commerce's power was not something that could be measured with 1 billion gold coins. The most important thing was that the giant shark gang had a large advantage in the water. The 4 states lake and the 4 states were opposite and they could follow the rivers to reach different cities. Once Miracle Commerce controlled the 4 states lake, they would control a large transportation network. Meng Qinggu already had plans to buy several fleets, but it seemed like instead of buying fleets, it was better to directly invest in the giant shark gang. This was an opportunity for the giant shark gang. First, Chu Tian could solve their curse, which was the biggest chip that the giant shark gang could not resist. Secondly, with 1 billion gold coins, the giant shark gang could escape poverty. Moreover, a company that could casually take out 1 billion gold coins was not normal. This person also had a close relationship with a top-notch official like Shen Fengho, so the giant shark gang needed this kind of power to transform. Their brothers' lives were too poor. Perhaps They really needed to improve. I've already said what I wanted to say. Chu Tian casually turned around and walked out. Chen Bingyu followed behind him. I'll give you a bit of time to consider it. I'll be back in a few days and I hope you can give me a definite answer at that time. Chu Tian left. He swaggered out of the cave. No one from the giant shark gang stopped him because they were all deep in thought. Looking at the back of this brat leaving, everyone was speechless for a long time. This person was so young. But he gave off an unfathomable feeling. Big brother, we've already attracted Shin Fengho's attention. Old Fifth Yu said with a serious expression, if we don't quickly turn around, Shin Fengho will not let us go. Shin Fengho was just passing by this time and did not come to suppress the giant shark gang. However, the giant shark gang had already offended Shin Fengho, so perhaps Shin Fengho would not allow them to continue expanding in the Four States Lake. The giant shark gang did not want to have a conflict with the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. Not to mention that Old Yu's cultivation was a level lower than Shin Fengho's, so what if he could beat Shin Fengho? Shin Fengho was one of the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. If he came out and united the 4 states to suppress the bandits, there would be at least 4 Marquises. Could the giant shark gang escape? If they alerted the 3 rulers, it would be a disaster. Old Yu ordered, Old Fifth will follow their fleet and see what they are doing. Old Fourth will bring a few people to Central State and investigate Miracle Commerce's background. We'll first see if this power is worth cooperating with. This matter was very important, so it was better to be cautious. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.